Well, it is a special night for Aston Villa, back at Europe's top table after more than 40 years. Unai Emery's side are ready to go. They start their Champions League campaign in Switzerland tonight, live on Talksport 2.
The European champions from 1982, back on Europe's top table.
After 42 years to be in Champions League, I know how important it is to be there.
Exciting, but let's go and qualify.
Watkins pulls it back, Tielemans runs it in! What a finish from Tielemans!
I think Villa Park will be rocking again now. They're getting back to their former glories. These are huge times for Villa.
Very much back on the up, really looking strong. I think they're good enough, the squad's good enough to give a really decent go at it.
Aston Villa, they'll get to the Champions League quarter-finals.
Bayern Munich at home, RB Leipzig away, Club Brugge away, Juve at home, Celtic at home, what tie that would be, Young Boys away, Bologna at home, and Monaco away.
Great turn, brilliant goal! Oh, that's magic from Morgan Rogers.
Play more than 8 matches, really fantastic. Of course, to win a title through Champions League could be, yes, but it's very, very difficult. But of course, it's in our dreams.
So Aston Villa are back at the top level of European football for the first time in 42 seasons. Their new Champions League campaign, the first Champions League season under a brand new format. 36 participating teams that in the league phase play 8 matches each against different opponents. All the teams are ranked in a joint group, and for Villa it all gets off and underway here on a plastic pitch in Bern, Switzerland, up against Young Boys. The sun is shining on this early evening and kick-off is less than 15 minutes away, live here on Talksport 2. We'll bring you the team news in a minute. Former Villa skipper Andy Townsend is alongside me for commentary. Andy, a very good evening.
Good evening, Joe. Looking forward to this.
Oh, it should be something special for Villa tonight, and Andy will talk all about the history that they're making and the team news in just a moment. I do want to start though with a tribute to Gary Shaw, who has so sadly passed away at the age of 63. Gary was a key part of the Villa side that had that remarkable European Cup, European Super Cup, First Division title success under the great Ron Saunders in the 80s. He was a local lad, joined the club at 16. He knew everything about what it meant to pull on the claret and blue jersey, and he was on the pitch on Aston Villa's finest night of all.
He was indeed. Heartfelt condolences to all of Gary's friends, loved ones, family, etc., and those that knew him. You couldn't have met a more humble man than Gary Shaw. I used to see him frequently in the media lounge at Villa Park before matches, and Gary, always such an unassuming man for someone that was so successful at Aston Villa, as you say, part of the legendary side around that 81-82 season, a significant part of it as well. Just a real shock, and again, just very, very sad news on the eve of what is such a joyous week for everyone involved with Aston Villa. That has hit everyone, I'm sure, extremely hard.
It really is a night tinged with sadness, isn't it? And absolutely we echo all of the condolences for Gary Shaw, who so sadly passed away at the start of this week. Just in terms of his place in Aston Villa's all-time greats, had a great goal-scoring record, one of the great Aston Villa strikers.
Yes, absolutely one of the great Aston Villa strikers. Gary had injury issues which obviously held him back a little bit, but again, he still showed everybody what qualities he had, and as I say, I think the nicest thing I can say about Gary, I never had the pleasure of playing with him, but he was just such a pleasant guy to be around, just such a lovely, unassuming, humble man, and again, he may be gone, but he most certainly will never be forgotten, not by everybody at Villa Park.
Well, Unai Emery has been saying in the build-up that a victory tonight would be a fitting tribute to Gary Shaw. Emery says that Villa have got a memory at the training ground, a picture of 1982 and the European Cup. He sent his condolences to Gary Shaw's family, and says that Aston Villa can use his memory and the history that he brought to the club as part of the motivation ahead of the game tonight. Aston Villa will be wearing black armbands here in Bern. Let me give you the two teams ahead of kick-off live on Talksport 2. Villa unchanged from the weekend win over Everton. They had to come from 2-0 down. Martinez in goal, Bergard, Konsa, Pau Torres and Digne, Onana, Tielemans and McGinn, with Ramsey expected to join them out wide. Rodgers and Watkins likely to be a more central two. And these are the Aston Villa subs. Bailey back on the bench after injury. Barkley, Buendia, Diego Carlos, Duran, 3 goals in 4 this season, all off the bench. Gauci and Zic are the 2 goalkeepers. Nedeljkovic, Maatsen and 2 more youngsters, Swinkles and Young, make up the Aston Villa bench. I'll give you the young boys starting at 11 as well. Von Balmus is the goalkeeper. Afakami, Kamara, Zukru and Hadjam. Colli, Nias, Lauper and Montero, with Ugrincic and Ganvula up front. A reaction with Andy Townsend to that team news in just a moment, but first let's get the latest odds with William Hill.
In the Zone on Talksport 2 with William Hill. Prepare for greatness with William Hill. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Well, Ben Barrett is with us and can bring us all the very latest ahead of kick-off, Ben.
How good is it to see Aston Villa back at Europe's top table once again for the first time in a very, very long time? They're 8-13 to get off to the perfect start back in the Champions League. The draw is 16-5. Young Boys of Bern sit rock bottom of their domestic league. No wins, just 3 points so far this season, 9-2 to cause what would essentially be something of a home upset. Listening to that team news a moment or two ago, I'm drawn to, of course, Ollie Watkins at 13-10 to score at any time. He said he was gutted not to take the match ball home against Everton. He's 28-1 to pack one in his hand luggage back from Switzerland. Morgan Rodgers is 13-8. He starts one side with Jacob Ramsey, potential value in that market, at 9-4 to bag at any time. Silva Janvula, 29-10, leads the betting for the Young Boys of Bern, who lead the way. This is one of our matches where Bet Builders are live, and what's more, you get a 25% winning boost on all successful Bet Builders placed on this game, and Impact Sub is live. If you place a bet on any player to do just about anything and they don't, and they're taken off, the player coming on inherits that bet. If Ollie Watkins to score at any time doesn't land for you and he's replaced by John Duran, the ultimate Impact Sub, John Duran will carry on that bet for you and land another winner with a goal of his own. Impact Sub Bet Builders, all helping Aston Villa fans hopefully enjoy a first win back at the Champions League top table for the first time since the early 80s.
Thanks, Ben. That's all thanks to William Hill. Get epic value all season with William Hill. 18 plus, speed gambleaware.org.
In the Zone on Talksport 2 with William Hill. Prepare for greatness with William Hill. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
You are listening to the Champions League live on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes. If you've got a plan, we've got a van. Young Boys against Aston Villa underway very shortly in Bern. Live on Talksport 2 at 8 o'clock on Talksport. There'll be full commentary of Liverpool away at Milan, a classic Champions League fixture. At the same time here on Talksport 2, we'll have Manchester United against Barnsley live and in full in the third round of the League Cup. The best way to be across all the action is to download our free app. Andy Townsend is with me for commentary this evening. Andy, when you look at that Aston Villa team, I don't think there are any great surprises, are there? Maybe one or two might have thought, is he going to start John Duran? But he's elected to use him from the bench again.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all, Joe. I think that vitally important in the Champions League that you get off to a good start, and I think there's been so much said in and around Aston Villa about the fact that they're back at the big time, dining at the top table after such a long time away, that I don't think it's the right time to rotate too heavily. I think this team, whilst they were slow out the blocks against Everton, of course, they hauled it back fantastically well and won with such an emphatic goal from John Duran. No surprises to see that Unai Emery has gone with experience. He's gone with those that have been pretty much playing and up to speed. So I think he realises the significance of a strong start.
Villa will have to deal with a plastic pitch tonight, of course. Young Boys are very much used to it, the Swiss champions. Though, as Ben Barrett was mentioning, they've not had a good start to the league season. But how will that affect? Do you expect it to have any effect on the game? Emery has said that Villa have spent some time acclimatising in the last few days, but there's nothing quite like the rigours of 90 minutes Champions League football.
Very true. It does play differently. There's no question that you have to play to feet more The ball can get away from you if it's played in behind and over the top. So you've got to take that little bit more care with your passing. But look, I think there's been a lot said and debated about plastic pitches in the latter stages of the Champions League, whether they should or they shouldn't. Personally, I don't think they should. However, they've got to overcome that tonight. They're more than good enough to do so.
And what do you make of this format, Andy? No more group stages in the Champions League. It's the first season under this new 36-team league. The top 8 will go into the round of 16 stage automatically. 9th to 24th are into the knockout phase playoffs, and then 25th to 36th are eliminated from Europe altogether.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how it pans out. I think there's potential for it to be quite exciting. I think in some of the 4-team group phases we'd seen dead rubbers, with the team at the bottom floundering or really struggling and not being able to really put up much of a fight against the bigger and better teams. So hopefully this will allow teams to really have a go at it a little bit more. Again, it will only be the fullness of time and towards the back end of this competition whether we think it's been a huge success.
And John McGinn at the front of the queue of the Aston Villa players in the tunnel here in Bern. What a moment it is for so many of these Villa stars, so many of course without Champions League experience coming into tonight and flying the flag for their club after such a long way. It's the first time that Aston Villa have been involved in the top level of European football since 1982-83 when they reached the quarter-finals. They lost to Juventus 5-2 on aggregate, defending their European Cup, won famously in 82 in Rotterdam, and there are 1,600 Villa fans here, Andy.
Yes.
They're going to watch the action unfold. What a moment it is for everybody associated with the club.
It is genuinely wonderful, it really is, and it's great to see such a healthy travelling Villa faithful. It really is. It doesn't surprise me at all, as you say. It conjures up wonderful memories of that great 81-82 side, which really was dominant in English football and European football at that time. So yeah, a lot to look forward to, but this is only the start. This is where it all gets underway. Tonight they need to put in a good, solid, professional performance and show that they can mix it with the best.
Well, not since those heady days in 82 have Villa had it quite like this. More than 4 long decades have passed, but they've finally returned to the highest level that European club football can offer. And this at the start of a fresh, revamped Champions League that promises to be better than ever. The two sides have come out from the tunnel, which interestingly is at one end of the stadium. You come out of the tunnel and it's right next to the goal where the young boy supporters are standing with the fireworks going off and the yellow scarves being held high above their heads, and then it's a walk across the plastic pitch to the halfway line, and very shortly, ringing in the ears of all of the supporters here and players alike, we'll hear the famous Champions League anthem for the start of 2024-2025. How we've missed it. The format may have changed, but the prize on offer is perhaps the richest and most historic any club on the continent could possibly hope to earn. It really does get the heart racing, and the road to Munich starts here. The first perhaps of many a special night for Villa. The home games against the likes of Bayern Munich and Juventus will be especially resonant of the great days of the early 80s. At the same time, the class of 24-25 are out to create brand new history of their own. Nobody expected Villa to be here, Andy Townsend. Wonder how they're going to fare with these 8 league phase matches to come.
Yeah, well, again, I think that I'm sure Unai Emery will have reminded the Villa team about how tough it was to get here, and that the effort and the commitment and the dedication they showed and the way they handled the pressure on that run-in last year. So he'd have constantly reminding them that don't throw it away. Don't lose your concentration, don't lose your focus. Champions League football maybe not tonight, Joe, maybe one or two of the other matches, but when you get out of this group phase and start getting into the knockouts again, then it can be really, really significant. You make a mistake, you get punished for it. I still think tonight, if Villa are focused, they're disciplined, which they usually are, I think they've more than enough to get a very positive result.
We're going to have the change kit tonight. It's a sort of dark blue, midnight blue shirt, white shorts and dark blue and black socks. Of course, they are wearing black armbands tonight in memory of the late, great Gary Shaw. And young boys are in yellow and black, very reminiscent of Borussia Dortmund, who, of course, were Champions League finalists last season. We've got Milan against Liverpool at 8 o'clock on Talksport. Manchester United against Barnsley in the Carabao Cup here at 8 on Talksport 2. Tomorrow evening, a choice of listing again. Manchester City against Inter on Talksport, and Coventry against Tottenham in the Cup on Talksport 2. Thursday evening, Atalanta against Arsenal on Talksport. And this weekend we'll have the start of the WSL season, plus the return once again of the Premier League and the Championship this weekend. Here's the Villa side. Martinez in goal, Bogard, Konsa, Torres and Digne, Ramsey, Onana, Tielemans and McGinn, Rodgers and Watkins up front for young boys. Von Balmus is the goalkeeper, Athakami, Kamara, Zukru and Hadjam, Colli, Nias, Lauper and Montero, Ugrincic and Ganvula are the two up top. Acrid smoke seems to be filling the air. There are flares let off behind the goal to the right-hand side by the young boys supporters. They've had Manchester City here in the Champions League before. They've beaten Manchester United in Europe in relatively recent times, Andy, so it won't be easy for Villa tonight.
No, take nothing for granted. Look, they've started domestically really poorly, but this is a chance for them to push that to one side, to worry about that again at the weekend, but to get their own Champions League campaign up and running with a bit of a blast. So yeah, look, they've got Champions League experience. They know how to play against very strong teams. Let's see how they fare tonight.
And on the artificial surface, Ugrincic and young boys get us off and underway from left to right. A new era for Champions League football and a new era for Aston Villa. The 2024-2025 Champions League phase is off and underway, live on Talksport 2. Aston Villa are back at Europe's top table. And the journey begins here in Switzerland. Villa playing from right to left towards the north end of the stadium. That's where the 1,600 or so travelling fans are. Emi Martinez, they will take a goal kick straight away on this artificial surface that very much has an artificial look to it when you compare it to regular pitches. Jacob Ramsey trying to reach a loose ball on the inside left channel, sliding in to clear it away is the young right-back Athakami, and it's a Villa throw.
Yeah, and seeing Jacob Ramsey there starting on the left side for Aston Villa, sitting in front of Luca Digne. So, again, I think that's another indication of the surface that they're playing on, and that they might be a little narrower, Villa, and they might play a little more to feet and use the pace of, in particular, Morgan Rodgers to really kind of stretch young boys.
Former Villa captain Andy Townsend is with us for commentary tonight on Talksport 2. John McGinn's won the ball back midway into opposition territory, and here is Rodgers rolling it back to the halfway line. Bogard, the fullback who has replaced Matty Cash in the last couple of games. 3 wins from 4 in the Premier League so far for Aston Villa this season. Yuri Tielemans on the ball in the centre circle, little glancing touch forward up towards the halfway line, but Jacob Ramsey's dispossessed, and young boys playing from left to right have the ball back.
Yeah, good interception from Nias. Just looking at the young boys team, pretty big, powerful outfit. So again, I think Aston Villa have to be mindful of those set plays and those corners, and certainly that sort of emphasis. Be careful of that. Make sure that you switch on very, very quickly and you deal with anything that's delivered.
Young boys 0, Aston Villa 0. Ball goes back to the goalkeeper David von Balmus, who's making his 50th European appearance for young boys tonight. They clear over halfway through Athakami, again the right back, but the ball's dropped to Luca Digne on the near side, the left, right in front of Unai Emery, who's wearing his dark jumper, pointing the way forward for Tielemans. 10 yards into opposition territory, now back to Onana on the halfway line as Konsa's in possession. Aston Villa have got Bayern Munich and Juventus at Villa Park across the course of this campaign. There's a home game against Celtic as well. It's so important in this unpredictable new league phase as the defender Hadjam concedes a throw to Villa. So important to get off to a good start.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. And I think already that we've seen, I think, the way that they've shaped up with John McGinn down the right side, with Jacob Ramsey down the left, and Yuri Tielemans and Onana anchor in the middle of midfield. I think that indicates that Villa are going to try and pass their way through the lines as much as they possibly can.
Bogard led with the edge of the 18-yard box, goes back towards the halfway line, and here is Consta once again for Villa. The square ball to his central defensive colleague Pau Torres, as we welcome listeners on Talksport. 3 minutes gone in Bern. Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 0 is the latest score on this artificial surface, the plastic pitch. It's the start of a new Champions League season in a new league phase format, and Aston Villa's first game at the top table of European football for 42 seasons. How have they started, Andy Townsend?
Yeah, we're only 3 or 4 minutes in, Joe, very competently. You know, they've had most of the ball. It's Pau Torres and Conta, they're up on the halfway line, they're prompting and just feeding those guys in front of them, taking good care in possession, not really allowed Young Boys to have any of the ball yet.
Ramsey's got possession on the halfway line. Villa wearing black armbands tonight in tribute to the late great Gary Shaw, a key member of the Villa side that had such success in the European Cup in 1982 and at First Division level as well in the 1980s, and Aston Villa rightly paying tribute to him tonight. Young Boys have won a free kick just inside Aston Villa territory. Quiet start so far, with commentary continuing across the course of the game here on Talksport 2. It's Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 0. Back it goes to goalkeeper Von Balmus, who is wearing the captain's armband tonight. Long ball hoisted downfield by Zukru, up towards the big striker right up the middle, Ganvula. Aston Villa clear away. The loose ball will drop into the gloves of Emi Martinez.
Yeah, decent long ball actually to Ganvula, that 40-50 yard clip right up the middle of the field. Ganvula chasing it, and he had lots of yellow shirts in and around him, just looking maybe for anything to drop back. One good thing about this surface, Joe, as a midfield player running onto a bouncing ball, you can trust the bounce and hit things first time.
And here comes Rodgers charging forward for Villa, out to the inside left channel. Jacob Ramsey back in field to Rodgers into the penalty area, and his run goalwards is blocked off by Kamara, and the ball will be clattered clear by Von Balmus upfield.
Yeah, been really impressed with Morgan Rodgers, how he's started the Premier League campaign. I mean, he's been excellent.
Yeah.
And from halfway line to the edge of the 18-yard box, he is so quick and such a good runner with the ball, as is Jacob Ramsey. Villa got 2 players out there tonight, really, really quick across the ground. That first 5 or 10 yards, the Young Boys players are going to find it very difficult to handle that.
5 minutes gone, 0-0 in Switzerland. And Andy, actually talking the pitches, you and I were keeping an eye across a documentary that they've been showing on television in the build-up to this game tonight, with some of the old footage from Aston Villa in Europe in the early 1980s. We'll return to that in just a moment as Young Boys win a throw down by the corner flag. But I tell you what, the pitches then, they were mud baths half the time, weren't they?
Oh, they were. They certainly were. You know, they were. They'd already, now we're in the sort of, towards the end of September, they'd already be starting to cut up. So, you know, long gone those sort of days. Nowadays, the players can totally trust them. Footwear completely different to the stuff that I used to play in. And I must be honest, you know, technically now the game's a stronger game, I think, because of the surfaces, no doubt about that. It's a better watch in terms of the quality of the matches. And in this competition, nothing, I think, exemplifies that more than the Champions League. I think the final stages of this competition are always so intense and so good.
Afterkali breaking to the penalty area for Young Boys. He gets to return ball back on the edge of the D. Now an opportunity for Nias possibly to go for goal. Blocked off by the sliding challenge of Tielemans. He's gone down on the edge of the D, and the free kick has gone the way of Young Boys. Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 0, but the home team with an opportunity maybe to go for goal from range here. It was Tielemans who was penalised.
Yeah, Afterkali it was that hit the floor. I don't think so. I didn't think there was a lot in that. I think the player has just he's just hit the ground there, and he's got the benefit of that. So it does give Young Boys a chance to work Emi Martinez from sort of 26, 27 yards out, I would suggest. So it's striking distance. You've got enough time now to get this over the wall, back under the bar.
Young Boys attacking the end that houses their most vocal support, and it's the number 7, Filip Ugrincic, who is standing over it. Emi Martinez just starting to organise that Aston Villa wall. 7.5 minutes into Aston Villa's first top-level European campaign since the early 1980s. Afterkali has joined Ugrincic in standing over this free kick. It's got to be 30 yards from goal.
Maybe you're right, Joe. A little bit more than what I said, yeah.
Ugrincic will curl it right-footed, and it's gathered easily by Martinez right on the middle of his 6-yard box. Not really even a warning shot from Ugrincic.
Yeah, it was plenty far enough out so as Ugrincic could hit it hard enough to get it over the wall and dip it back under the bar, but actually not enough pace on it. Pretty much directly at Emi Martinez, no problem for him.
A goalkeeper who has got a fantastic penalty-saving record that helped Aston Villa in Europe last season in their run to the semi-finals of the Europa Conference League. And in Unai Emery, of course, they do have a manager with a great pedigree in winning European competitions, the Europa League, of course. Tielemans in possession midway inside his own half. Sends up the captain McGinn, who chips the ball up the inside right channel. That's going to be too long for anybody in a Villa shirt. Not even Rodgers with his pace can reach that. Hadjam, the left back, will come away with possession for Young Boys. You've started to see more of the ball in the last few moments. It has been a relatively low-key first 9 minutes.
Yeah, it has. I think both teams are happy just to keep possession without looking too menacing or threatening so far. I think we've seen enough of Young Boys in possession now over the last few minutes in particular to see that, of course, why wouldn't they? They should be comfortable on this surface. Absolutely, it's their patch, it's what they know. But the Villa boys, as I mentioned, with Jacob Ramsey, the right footer down the left side, and McGinn, the left footer down the right, that little bit narrower, suggesting that they are going to play a lot more to feet.
A long ball downfield by Zukru, high up the far side, the left for Young Boys. Ugrincic has given it away, sliding in his Bogard for Aston Villa. And I have to say that Colley, the winger for Young Boys, went down rather theatrically there. I mean, he was caught, yes, by Bogard, but does he need to roll around on the far side touchline? I'm not sure.
Bogard's made contact with the ball before anything else, and I don't even think that's a foul. Again, that's something that the Villa players are going to have to learn, accept and understand, that in European football you will get pulled up for those sort of things, particularly away from home. It's just the way it is. The idea is not to get too disappointed, just get on with it, pick yourself up and get back.
A free kick to Young Boys out on the far side. 10 minutes gone live on Talksport 2. Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 0. Milan against Liverpool coming up on Talksport at 8 o'clock. The Young Boys have got quite a lot of height in the team. Kamara, the centre-half, and Zukru, the other defender, are among those who are forward here, but there are numerous targets for Ugrincic as he swings it in high right-footed, and Martinez has parried that away before Colley could get to it. A little unorthodox from the goalkeeper, but it worked out enough. And here come Villa on the counter maybe. Luca Dean has slowed the play down on the halfway line. Ball infield to Tielemans, touches it onto Rodgers, left of centre, blocked off in the middle of midfield by Niasse. And Aston Villa have to go back to the centre circle and Pau Torres, 0-0.
That was a better delivery from that wide free kick from Young Boys right into the front part of that Villa 6-yard box that Emi Martinez actually stepped out and gathered it just before it bounced to make sure he can hang on to it. From there was the possibility of a swift counter. Lucadinha it was who made good ground but has checked back. Of course, in doing so, all the yellow shirts now back behind the ball. And there we've just seen Pau Torres just try and find Lucadinha, trying to get him towards the byline where he can cross it, but the ball very quickly getting away from him and skidding out for a goal kick.
Well, one of the big questions for Unai Emery so far this season, Andy Townsend, is how is this Villa squad going to cope with the rigours of the Premier League and Champions League football?
Yep, I think it's going to be, of course, very new to them, no doubt about that. The squad, I think, is healthy. It's a good size. Once we get to Christmas, Joe, we've got that awkward period of domestic football as well as Champions League football now. It might be different.
And the Ass has reached the ball in the penalty area, in behind Bogard, and then the snapshot is turned away by Martinez. Well struck by Colley, and then another shot driven wide from the edge of the box by Ugrincic. It's two half chances in quick succession for Young Boys. It stays 0-0. Martinez had to be sharp at his near post there to deny the fizzing strike of Colley, and then Ugrincic couldn't keep the rebound on target.
Yeah, I think the Villa players were actually looking at the referee for a free kick that they never got. It looked like Niasse might have just bundled Bogard over a little bit, and they were a little bit static defensively there for a few seconds. They managed to, as ever, rely on the strength and the size of Emi Martinez to make sure that nothing got beyond him there.
We've not really seen much of Ollie Watkins in the game so far. He's peeled out to the Villa left, but he can't keep control, and the ball is out of play for a throw to Young Boys, and Unai Emery when he's half smiling, but he's also half furious with the fourth official, because Watkins replays in the monitoring the commentary position have told us he clearly kept the ball in play.
Looked like it had, didn't
by
it?
some distance.
Yeah.
Unai Emery, I think, White Wrights can play 0-0.
Yeah, and I think for Ollie Watkins tonight, it's an interesting one for him because of this surface. He likes to run. He likes to run between centre half and full-backs, does it so generously, getting into those channels. Whereas tonight he might just have to be a little bit more of a focal point. And of course, pick and choose his runs wisely, again, because of the surface. If guys are hitting 50, 60-yard balls, they're not going to hold up. They can get away from you. So he's got to make sure when he does go, Ollie, he's giving himself a really good chance to hang on to it.
Still 0-0 in Switzerland, and Juventus 0, PSV 0 is a latest score from the other early kick-off at the start of this Champions League campaign. Milan against Liverpool live on Talksport at 8, Bayern Munich against Dinamo Zagreb, and Real Madrid against Stuttgart, and Sporting against Lille. The other 8 o'clock kickoffs in the Champions League tonight here on Talksport 2. And we will have Carabao Cup commentary as Manchester United host Barnsley. Very quiet from Aston Villa going forward so far.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah, they haven't worked Von Boumels at all yet. Emi Martinez has just had to field one or two little situations, nothing that he can't handle, nothing that's overstretched him. But I do think, again, Villa would just like to, now we're approaching the quarter of an hour mark gone, would just like to maybe stitch something together in that last third.
Up against a team that have beaten Manchester United here in Bern in relatively recent times. Ball set up the far side, the right channel for Rodgers to chase, and he's shrugged aside by Zukru at the expense of an Aston Villa throw. About midway into opposition territory. In fact, the throw has gone the way of young boys, and Zukru can roll it simply back to goalkeeper Von Boumels under no pressure whatsoever. And here is Kamara midway inside his own half the field. So they're the Swiss champions, but they're bottom of the Swiss league, unbelievably, haven't won any of their first 6 league matches. So there is a little bit of pressure on the new head coach, Patrick Raab.
Definitely. Well, they know that they need a proper performance.
Well, they've given a good account of themselves so far as Ganvula drills a low ball in from the right-hand side. It's steered away at the near post by Pau Torres, and now I think the assistant, is he saying, Andy, that the ball had already gone out of play? I think he might be. Either
that or just an offside call, maybe, Joe, on Ganvula. Either way, it was pretty tight, the offside call, and then again that through ball, that first time pass that was laid in behind Villa's back 4. Ganvula was chasing it towards the byline, but whether or not he just quite managed to keep it in, we're not sure.
Aston Villa have had 60% possession so far in the first 15 minutes. The score is still 0-0.
They do this a lot, Villa. They go back to the goalkeeper who teases the opposition to come and get it, and then they'll play short, and then they'll be brave in possession to try and play their way out of trouble. They like to do that a lot, Villa.
That's exactly what they've done, and Jacob Ramsey's gone down and won a free kick. It was a poor challenge from Athakami, wrapped his arm around the back of Ramsey's neck, and Jacob Ramsey, of course, a local boy for Aston Villa, makes the point to the match referee, Georgi Kabakov of Bulgaria.
Yeah. Blatant foul from Athakami there on Jacob Ramsey.
I'm just getting a sense that Villa are still settling into the game.
I think so, yeah. I don't think they're in a hurry, Joe, so far to actually really do anything that significant. And you have to be careful with that. If you're sort of plodding a little bit and taking it easy, all of a sudden you can find yourself a goal down. You've got to make sure that you're up to speed. And I'd like to see them just play with a little bit more intent, as I said, in terms of getting forward.
Free kick to young boys after a foul by Tielemans on the athletic Nias, who charged forward into Aston Villa territory. It's a free kick to the Swiss club about 10 yards into the Villa half. This one of 450 live games we're bringing you across the Talksport network this season. Long ball thundered down the young boy's left, and Hadjam, the fullback, is in behind Bogart here. Hadjam scampers into the area. Lovely run from him. He's tried to knock it square. It came off Ponce, and then it's hammered away by Tielemans. Hadjam ended up going to ground. A referee not remotely interested in giving a penalty, still 0-0.
Good run from Hadjam. Might have a look at this, you know, Joe. They might do, because Hadjam in that left back position got himself right away to the byline, almost then coming back to the corner of the 6-yard box to get his shot away on the right foot. And it was Ezri Konsa who first challenged him, and then Amadou Onana it was that just caught him a little bit as he went to strike the ball.
Well, Onana after Hadjam had played the ball, Onana follows through and he certainly catches Hadjam.
He does, he does catch him. And again, the ball had already gone. Hadjam had already tried to have the shot and it had already gone, but certainly Onana catches him and kicks the bottom of his boot pretty hard as well. It's not just a toe end. He actually thumbs through it. He's hurt himself, Onana, in doing so, but we'll see whether or not that the referee wants to have anything else to say about this.
We've got no sense at the moment, do we, Andy, that there's a VAR review ongoing, and so maybe Aston Villa are going to get away with it. I mean, what do you make of that sort of challenge when the ball has already been played and then Onana cut? I mean, it's clumsy, isn't it?
It's a bit clumsy. It is a bit clumsy. He certainly catches him. I think he'd be thankful there if he does get away with that, Onana. You've got to be very, very careful. Sometimes in the Champions League matches, you see just the merest challenge you can be penalised for. So Onana, as I said, has kicked the bottom of Hadjam's boot. When you literally thump the bottom of an opponent's boot, you get the full force of those studs right on the top of your foot. He's the one that's suffering at the moment. Just seeing pictures of Ross Barkley there going through his paces, warming up, making sure he's ready to go if he needs to be, but it doesn't look like the referee's interested in taking that any further, which is good news for Villa.
Onana's going to jog a little gingerly towards the near side touchline. Hadjam is back on his feet. I think both teams will carry on with 11. Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 0. 19 minutes gone. Live on Talksport 2. I just remind you of the Villa subs: Bailey, Barkley, Buendia, Diego Carlos, Duran, Gauchi, Nedeljkovic, Matson, Zic, the other goalkeeper, and Swinkles and Young. Two other youngsters in the side tonight for Aston Villa: Matty Cash, Boubacar Kamara, Tyrone Mings, all out due to injury. Hadjam, is he going to get the thumbs up to come back on? He's got the call from the referee, and Onana, I think, likewise. John McGinn's desperate for Onana to come back on, and Villa want to get back to their full complement of 11, which they do. Forward by Hadjam up the middle, and towards Grincic. That's a good covering header by Ezri Konsa, and Lamar Bogard will sweep it clear out of play for a Young Boys throw.
Yeah, and Villa just having a few problems at the moment. Just 1 second, I'll just see where this develops. Another wide free kick coming to Young Boys here. It looks like Bogard there again has just been pulled up for a challenge. Didn't look like a lot in it initially. He's just grabbed the shirt as he's falling to the ground, and it's Grinic who just tumbles and wins his team the free kick. Villa just having a little bit of a few problems with the Young Boys fullbacks.
Yeah,
because McGinn is tucked in, because Ramsey is tucked in for a solid, quite narrow midfield four. What that is allowing is the home team's fullbacks to just get that extra 10 yards further forward, and at the moment they're having a little bit more of an influence on the game.
Big test tonight for Lamar Bogard, young man, 20 years of age, and only made his Premier League debut and second and third appearances for Aston Villa in the last couple of matches, so this is appearance number 4. Grincic standing over the free kick, level with the edge of the 18-yard box. Plastic pitch and the floodlights on here in Bern. 32,000 watching on. Plenty of yellow and black shirts forward. Whipped in by Grincic, punched away, double-handed by Martinez at the near post. Safety first. The loose ball has dropped to Hadjam, but there's no great danger for Aston Villa. The ball is midway inside their own half of the field. Now Colin with jinking feet to spin away and shoot right-footed. What a hit! And it's onto the roof of the net. That was a sensational strike off the boot of Colin, the Gambian winger. It really had Martinez scrambling, and it's crashed right over the top of the crossbar, and had that dipped a couple of feet lower, Andy Townsend, Aston Villa might have been 1-0 down.
Yeah, they certainly could have been. Collie is operating on the left side for Young Boys. He steps inside, he's all right foot, that's his stronger foot. He steps inside on Bogard, and he is a long way out on the angle, but he hits it with pace and dip, and it's got Emi Martinez in trouble a little bit. I think it's always about a foot over the bar, but it was dipping and swerving, and it was a really impressive strike.
The first ever Gambian to score at Champions League level, Ibrahima Goli, when he found the net in this competition while he was on loan at Young Boys last season. Young Boys nil, Aston Villa nil as we head to the midway point of the first half. Villa in that change kit tonight, dark blue shirts and white shorts. Long ball floated downfield by Pau Torres. Good covering header away by Apikami, and the loose ball has dropped to the near side of Joel Montero. Now Apikami again in the right back position. Hoists it high downfield. Good flick by Ganfula getting above Pau Torres, but Ezri Konsa's there to see it back to Martinez.
And I think what Villa need to do most certainly is keep their front two involved, which they haven't been. We're now in the 23rd minute. We've seen nothing of Ollie Watkins really, or Morgan Rogers. I think the pair of those would love to get involved a little bit more. Villa lots of possession between Ezri Konsa and Pau Torres, but nothing really sticking from there going forward to the front men. I think that's got to improve. At the moment, those two are isolated a little.
Well, the first goal of this season's Champions League campaign proper has gone to Juve as Watkins has the ball down to John McGinn on the edge of the area. Curls it just over the top. John McGinn, the skipper, racing onto that knockdown, and he tried to place it into the top corner. He was under some pressure, and it went high over the top of the bar, 0-0.
Do you know, that's really good play from Emi Martinez. Instead of rolling it out short to the centre halves, he's gone long. He's gone 60 yards to Ollie Watkins, who's backpedaling towards the edge of the box, nods it back into the path of John McGinn, takes a good first touch in a good central position, and unfortunately his rising shot is always just going over the bar, but that's better for Villa. That's a good way to involve your strikers. It doesn't have to be always through the lines. It hasn't got to take 10 passes to get up to Watkins and Rogers. Go direct, mix your game up now and again. Nothing wrong with that.
Andy, there are so many great potential candidates, aren't they, for what will hopefully be that first Aston Villa goal back at the top level in Europe. And John McGinn would certainly be up there for all that he's given the club. A man who has scored in that Championship playoff final to help them get back in the top flight, and what a leader he is on and off the pitch.
He's a great guy, John. He really is a good character too. Good fun in the dressing room, and the lads love him and enjoy his company, and he's always out there, plays every week, gives his best. You can't ask for any more than that.
And Ramsey's won a free kick midway inside opposition territory. Juventus 1, PSV 0 is her latest score in the Champions League. Kenan Yildiz has got the first goal of this competition in the new format, of course, with the league stage. 36 teams are involved. The top 8 at the end of these 8 games for each team go straight through to the round of 16. 9th to 24th, you're into the knockout phase playoffs. Yuri Tielemans over the free kick. Left of centre, Konsa and Pau Torres forward. It's rolled square to Bogard, right back to Tielemans, who now drifts the ball in left-footed, high into the penalty area, headed away, only as far as Watkins. He couldn't quite get his shot away. It'll be cleared upfield by Zandro Lauper for Young Boys. Tielemans out wide to the right-hand side, the far side of McGinn. McGinn, all left foot, steers the ball centrally to Jacob Ramsey on the edge of the penalty area. Wide is Lucadinha. First time low cross, cleared away at the near post by a stretching Kamara. Aston Villa win their first corner 0-0.
That's better. Villa's initial free kick was half cleared, but they recycled it, got it back to Jacob Ramsey, who looked left where Lucadinha was on the overlap. The ball could have done with being played just a couple of yards further in front of him. Then he could have really fired it across the 6-yard line and might have found a teammate.
Lucadinha will take the corner. Left-footed and out-swinging, one arm up into the air from the Frenchman. Beneath still blue skies here in Switzerland, Young Boys have brought almost everybody back to defend it. Plenty of dark blue shirts inside the penalty area for Aston Villa. Dinha's gone short to John McGinn. McGinn hoists the ball high to the back post. Tielemans brings it down and shoots! And Tielemans has scored! Aston Villa with their first top-level European goal for more than 40 years, and it's Yuri Tielemans who's got it. Villa back at Europe's top table, and they are here to enjoy every second of it. What a corner kick routine. Tielemans peeled away at the back post. He brought it down. He struck it low. He found the bottom corner. Off he goes to celebrate with the Aston Villa fans. And in the Champions League, Aston Villa are off and running. Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 1. An historic goal scored by Yuri Tielemans.
Yeah, and a very well-rehearsed set play, as you say, Joe. Yuri Tielemans was sitting on the edge of the box, right in the middle of the 18-yard box. McGinn and Lucadinha play a short free kick. McGinn scoops it high. It looked a pretty aimless sort of ball, but Tielemans, as that ball's travelling in the air, has moved from that central position. All the big Villa players have run to the near post, dragging all the yellow shirts with them, which give him a lovely pocket of space to take a touch and hit it between legs and between bodies into the far corner, and to give Villa a really, really important lead. Slightly against the run of play, I've got to say. I think young boys have done all right for 10 or 15 minutes, but as ever with Champions League football, you get a moment, you need to take it, and Villa have just done that.
They've had to wait for that goal for more than 40 years. Yuri Tielemans has scored it 27 minutes in on Talksport 2, and it's Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 1. Juventus 2 and PSV Eindhoven 0 is the latest score. Elsewhere in the Champions League tonight, Milan against Liverpool at 8 o'clock on Talksport. Manchester United against Barnsley in the Carabao Cup will be here on Talksport 2. But Tielemans was left completely unmarked, and he made no mistake. Here comes Kamara, looking to drift up the middle for Young Boys. Now the Ass with a sweeping ball wide, crossfield right to left. Colley's brought it down neatly. One-on-one with Bogard, has to go backwards to Sandro Lauper. And now Ugrincic. That'll settle a few Aston Villa nerves, Andy Townsend.
That's perfect for them. The way that they're setting up as well, as I mentioned, with the pace of Morgan Rogers, with Ramsey's pace as well as an out ball. It's absolutely ideal for Villa. And don't forget, this Young Boys team have really struggled in the league this season, so another slow start for them, going behind again, doesn't do anything for their confidence or their fans. Now Villa, this next 5 minutes, really important that they make sure that they consolidate, they don't give anything silly away, and they get ready to go again. But really, really good goal, deep corner, very cleverly worked to enable Yuri Tielemans to get all that space at the back of the 18-yard box, takes a good first touch and rams that in the far corner.
Well, he's scored some important goals in his career. I mean, he can strike a ball, can't he, Andy, from all sorts of range, Yuri Tielemans.
We've seen him strike. Look, he can. I mean, going back to that Leicester goal in the FA Cup final, which was an absolute thumper, wasn't it? But he does do that very well. And I like the way he's integrated into this Villa midfield, Yuri Tielemans. He can play short, he plays sensibly. You can trust him when he's under pressure with the ball at his feet. But he's always had that knack of nicking an important goal, and that's lovely.
Oh, lovely flick through the middle to Ollie Watkins, who's through. Watkins is clear on goal, and he shoots left-footed, and he's dragged it wide, and the option to play it left to Ramsey would have been a much better one. Ramsey was clear to the left of Watkins. He surely saw him, but as the ball bobbled up in front of him, Watkins really screwed that left-footed shot wide of goal. Should be 2-0 to Aston Villa.
Yeah, that's a great chance. Again, Emi Martinez knocks it into Morgan Rogers, who clips it over the top of the Young Boys back line. Ollie Watkins has never settled the ball down. He's never really got it under control. Jacob Ramsey runs beyond him. If he just rolls it into Ramsey's path, I think he's far better placed to give Villa a 2-goal lead. That's a really good situation and an opportunity missed.
There was a massive lack of pace from Kamara, the centre-half of Young Boys. I wonder, did the pitch play a part, Andy?
Might have done. He was just a bit slow, wasn't he? Reacting and turning and recovering. Ollie Watkins had a good couple of yards on him, but the first touch, Joe, wasn't great. Didn't get it out of his feet.
Former Aston Villa captain Andy Townsend with us for commentary tonight. Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 1 on Talksport 2. Half an hour gone. Young Boys on the attack from left to right. Apakami, deep ball to the back post. Colley heads it back across goal. Not the best of clearances from Konsa. Red, nervy moment from him. Colley goes on the outside of Bogard, and Young Boys win a corner that really they shouldn't have had the opportunity to win.
No, they shouldn't have. That's going to happen. So they do have a chance now to put something in and around the middle of between penalty spot and 6-yard box. Again, they've got some big lads. They do. You know, Gambula is a big guy. The two centre halves in Zukru and Camera. Nias is a giant. They've got a lot of guys there that are more than capable of really going after this corner.
Ugrincic will take it. He's the man for the set piece. Is the number 7. Right-footed in swinging. The home fans bouncing up and down behind that goal. Ugrincic right underneath the crossbar, and it's an easy take for Martinez, all in green, the Aston Villa goalkeeper. He wants to get the move going quickly from the corner. Not allowed to do so, and the referee's just going to intervene here and have a word with Ganvula. We know that Emi Martinez is a pro in that sort of situation when it comes to winding up opponents.
Yeah, he was looking like he was in a hurry to get rid of that Emi Martinez. I don't think he was, in all seriousness, Joe. Literally a couple of minutes after Villa have just got the lead, he's caught the corner, he's handled it well. They don't have no rush to do anything now.
So far, so good for Aston Villa. Young Boys 0, Villa 1. And actually, really, the goal, the only serious effort that Aston Villa have had in the game so far.
Yeah, indeed. I felt, again, as I said, in the initial 5 minutes, Villa very comfortable in possession. I think then Young Boys picked it up a little bit better from there on in.
A sloppy from Rodgers to give it away. The loose ball seized upon by Nias. It's won back by Onana. Midway inside opposition territory. Quick ball by Tielemans towards the right. He's been fouled, has Onana, and that'll be a yellow card for Nias. Tielemans had actually given the ball away, but good refereeing having spotted the foul. Nias hauling down Onana.
Yeah, grabbing his shirt, dragging him, rolling him to the floor. And they've got to be careful that they don't lose their discipline here. Young Boys, they're getting a little frustrated. We're now 33 minutes into the game, and they'll have felt that they were just getting going when all of a sudden Villa scored out of nothing pretty much. So a bit of frustration for them. They need to just settle themselves down emotionally, just gather themselves and make sure they don't give anything careless away.
Tielemans free kick midway into opposition territory, rolls the ball low along the ground to the left, and Digne led with the edge of the 18-yard box. Young Boys have got everybody back behind the ball. Good turn by Ramsey. Ball back to Digne on the outside. Digne's deflected cross loops up into the air off Athakami, and it's gone behind for another Aston Villa corner. And of course, the last one led to the only goal.
It certainly did. Luca Digne combining nicely with Jacob Ramsey there. Just getting that little bit of space. The corner was blocked by the first man. I beg your pardon, the cross was blocked by the first man, but John McGinn out for the short corner once more.
Digne one arm up into the air. This was the routine they used a few minutes ago, and it led to Yuri Tielemans opening the scoring. Digne, little thumbs up, and he's going to cut it square to McGinn once again. McGinn back out to Digne, dead ball line, crosses first time left-footed, all the way to the back post. Konsa chests it down. Bogard thought about a shot from the edge of the D, instead goes back to McGinn. Young Boys have still got everybody back behind the ball in yellow and black, and Aston Villa go backwards to the halfway line. Driven high ball downfield by Konsa. Excellent header backwards by Digne, and here's Morgan Rodgers to cut it back across, cleared away at the near post, and Young Boys scrambling away from danger, hammered downfield by Montero. That could turn into a great ball for Colley on the diagonal right to left, and he's kept it in. Colley racing up the left-hand side. Colley jinks back onto the far side, and Hadjam, not a good layoff. That allowed Bogard to clear away for Villa, who lead 1-0. That's one back by Athakami, who shoots from range. Screamer high over the top of the bar. Andy Townsend.
Yeah, game just opening up a little bit, getting a little more stretched. I think Villa just have to be a wee bit careful. That big clearance just moments ago from Young Boys out to Colley on that left wing, instantly running at Bogard. Hadjam, the left back, trying to get round him. They didn't quite combine correctly, but that threat was always going to be there. So again, Villa have this really all-important lead. Just got to consolidate that now, make sure they get to half-time with that protected.
And 9.5 minutes remaining at the end of the first half here. Live on Talksport 2. The ball's won back by Tielemans, and now McGinn in the centre circle. Early ball to Rodgers. He took it brilliantly. He's laid it square towards Watkins. He was unselfish. It's cleared away by Zukru. Even from a slight angle, I thought Rodgers was going to go for goal there. His control was exquisite. Left of centre inside the penalty area. Decided to roll a more difficult ball square.
He did indeed. Yeah. Really good ball from John McGinn into Morgan Rodgers, right on the edge of the 18-yard box, slightly on the angle. Tried to take it on his left foot into his stride. Got stuck between his feet a little bit, then tried to find Watkins, and he got cut out.
Villa a goal up, and they look like they can create more. It's dinked up the middle by Watkins. Rodgers brings it down again. He's back to goal. He's laid it back to Jacob Ramsey. Ramsey twisting and turning edge of the D. Gets the shot in, and it's gathered by the goalkeeper, Von Balmuth. Just for a moment there, Andy Townsend. I thought he was going to burst the net.
Yeah, me too. Nice work from Jacob Ramsey. Good combination, him and Morgan Rodgers. Villa just started to play with a little bit more menace with their forward play. There's a little bit more freedom, more variation, more running from those midfield positions, and really looking close to adding to their tally.
Well, we've got a Villa voice on commentary, and we've got one tomorrow on Talksport Breakfast, or the reaction to tonight's Champions League football with Alan Brazil and former Villa striker Dean Saunders, part of our team on Talksport Breakfast from 6 tomorrow. Here is Conser, midway inside his own half of the field. Looks a picture of poise and confidence, Ezri Conser. There's a real elegance about him, and he's a firm favourite of Unai Emery, and with good reason.
Yeah, he's a reliable, dependable defender, isn't he? I think good enough with the ball, not outstanding with the ball at his feet, but more than capable and good enough.
8 minutes plus added time remaining at the end of the first half. Tielemans fouled by Lauper. The referee raised play on. It's a good advantage because Ramsey's tucked it forward to Digne. Pulls it back to the edge of the box. Rogers jinks away from the defender. Lays it square and it's turned away by Zukru. Oh, Kamara with a terrible back pass. Watkins is fouled by the goalkeeper. Ramsey will roll it in anyway. It's 2 for Aston Villa and it's the local lad, Villa boy, Jacob Ramsey has got it. He couldn't miss from right on the goal line. Dreadful back pass by Kamara. Watkins seized upon it. Fouled by the goalkeeper. Ramsey had an empty net. He tucked it away very nicely. And my oh my, Aston Villa are loving their return to top-level European football. They're back in the Champions League and they are now 2-0 up.
Yeah, really good play from Villa. I mean, they're so slow in dealing with the ball, young boys here. I mean, that's absolutely crazy. Criminal defending, that is. And in the end, Jacob Ramsey who's got all the time in the world to take the ball out from Ollie Watkins, who's laid with the ball underneath him in the 6-yard box. I mean, that was a penalty anyway. It would definitely have been a penalty had Jacob Ramsey have not knocked that one in the back of the net. But the home team there, catastrophic defending. All of them ball watching, taking far too long. Somebody take control and deal with it. And instead of that, Jacob Ramsey is onto it in a flash and gives Villa a commanding 2-0 lead.
We are top of the league, sing the Aston Villa supporters, of course. 36 teams in the new league phase of the Champions League. Young boys nil, Aston Villa 2. And how fitting that Jacob Ramsey has been at the club since the age of 6 should get on the score sheet. This game is brought to you in partnership with TNT, the home of European football. And, well, he won't ever score an easier goal, I don't think. Here come young boys on the attack straight from kick-off. 6 minutes of the first half to go. Plus added time, and Unai Emery couldn't have asked for much more. And
no, it's been the perfect start for Villa, it really has. 1 or 2 moments where they've had to be careful, which you would expect. But certainly, once they got up to speed, certainly after they scored the first goal, it's been all Villa.
And now here come Villa with Rogers racing away down the right-hand side. He's being tugged back by Hadjan. He's left him on the ground. Rogers dead ball line crosses. Watkins is there. First shot is blocked. Kamara gets a tackle in. They look so vulnerable defensively, young boys. Such a lack of ability in that back line. And Watkins very nearly was able to turn it home for 3.
Brilliant run. Burst from Morgan Rogers down the right side. Hadjan was all over him. The left back desperately trying to challenge him, put him off, but he just shrugged him off as he normally does. Cut it back for Ollie Watkins from about 8 yards out on his left foot. He's hit it really well.
Well, the referee's had to stop the game because Athakami is in absolute agony inside the penalty area. I think it's hurt him where it really hurts, Andy.
Well, you have to put your body on the line, and Athakami has most certainly done that. I actually don't think Ollie Watkins' strike is on target. Don't think it's on target, and it was a really good position he was in. Should have been a neater, crisper, tidier finish than the one that he actually gave. But look, Villa, the last 20 minutes have gone up a gear, and young boys can't cope. They can't cope with the pace, the intensity, the amount of bodies that Villa are pouring forward, and they now look like a team that are desperately low on confidence and know-how.
2-0 to Aston Villa in the Champions League, live on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, whatever the mission, home or away. Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day. The Swiss side's head coach, Patrick Rahman, in conversation with one of his assistants on the near side touchline. There was a big celebration from Unai Emery after both goals. Big smile on his face. Athakami has gone off the pitch for young boys momentarily. They have got players warming up. Not sure if Athakami will have to go off. But it's Tielemans and Ramsey with the goals for Aston Villa. Jacob Ramsey, as I say, the local lad born in Great Bar, Birmingham. Local boy, and that will have meant more to him than most. as Athakami, I don't think, has come back on for Young Boys just yet, so they're still temporarily down to 10. Hadjam's ball square is intercepted, and now Villa have got it back with Onana just over the halfway line. You can see, I think, Andy, there is obviously a big gap in quality between these teams.
There's a gulf now. There is. There wasn't in that opening quarter of an hour. And whilst Villa just become accustomed, I think, to the surface and the way that Young Boys had set up, but certainly since the first goal, Villa have been the only team really that are posing any sort of threat. They're playing in control. They look superior pretty much in terms of setup now and personnel, and I think they can just go and add to their tally almost when they will here.
Here they come with Rodgers, left wing position this side of the field. Athakami's back on, but Rodgers has set up Ramsey to tease it back across. Watkins is there, left footed, and again Watkins scores. What a night this is turning into for Aston Villa. Ollie Watkins rifles it in at the second attempt. What a journey he's been on from non-league to the Champions League, and he's just made it. Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 3. This is European football of the highest quality from Aston Villa. This is better than they could ever have imagined.
Yeah, great strike from Ollie Watkins. Just wondering if it come back and hit him on the arm. I don't think so. Just before he struck it beautifully, by the way, at the second attempt to fire that past Von Balmus. I just wondered if it hit Ollie Watkins' arm and then dropped in front of him for him to strike it. But I don't think it did. I'm pretty sure the goal's going to stand. And again, Villa turning the ball over in midfield, getting beyond the Young Boys back four. And we're seeing images of Patrick Rahman, the Young Boys coach, and he hasn't got a clue what day it is, let me tell you.
Well, they are checking it, Andy, I think.
Are they?
I think the VAR's checking it. That's what it looks like is happening.
When I just saw it, Joe, I thought it looked like it...
Did it come off the chest?
Avoided his arms and hit his chest. But if it's the merest touch on his hands and then it hits his chest and drops in front of him for him to hit it in the back of the net, they will chalk it off. Can have another look here. Again, that angle's not a good one. The one that we've just seen.
The VAR checking it right now, and the referee has disallowed it. So it's only 2-0 to Aston Villa, and Ollie Watkins sees what was Villa's third goal ruled out after that VAR check. That's a real shame. 2-0 Aston Villa on Talksport 2.
Yeah, no need for them to get too disheartened or downbeat about that third one not counting. There's plenty more here for Villa. I think the more the Young Boys push and commit, then I can see Aston Villa turning that ball over, as I mentioned, particularly with Rodgers and Ramsey. Their pace is such a threat, and the home team can't really handle or cope with that. But just seeing reruns again, Watkins hit it on his left foot, hit the defender, come back to him.
There's a very faint touch, if anything, Andy. From a certain angle, it doesn't look like he's touched it.
It looks like, he's got to hit it with his left foot, hit the defender, it's come straight back. It looks like it's hit him on the chest rather than with his hand. But the VAR guys have chalked it off. They must have seen a little touch with his hand, but he knew nothing about it. Totally insignificant. Should it be chalked off? No, it shouldn't, Joe, not at all. But when your hand is involved in a goal, if it is in the slightest way, they will go to VAR and it will be denied.
30 seconds into 4 minutes of added time. It's only 2-0 to Aston Villa, but looking at replays from certain angles of that VAR check, it should be 3. And they were very quick to decide that, the video assistant referee. It didn't take very long, that check. Now Rodgers up the middle, through the middle to Watkins. Can he get his goal now? Cleared away by the defender, Athakami. I mean, you're absolutely right about Villa with the propensity to create things against a back line as lacklustre as this. 2-0 Villa lead in the Champions League. Live on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes, so if you've got a plan, we've got a van. Ball is back to the feet of Digne. Left back position now, Pau Torres. The only thing that they don't want to do, Aston Villa, is concede any sort of needless goal before half-time.
Just don't want to be careless.
Yep.
But again, the way that they play, I like the way that Esri Konsa and Pau Torres, they play at the right tempo. Now they're rolling it into feet. Careless ball from John McGinn when Bogard outside him was easily available. But yeah, I think again, if they play sensibly, professionally now, just neat and tidy about their work, and release Ramsey, Rodgers and Watkins at the right time, there's more goals here, no doubt.
And nearly 2 minutes into 4 added at the end of the first half. 2-0 to Aston Villa then. Would have been 3, but for that controversial VAR decision to rule the goal out for handball by Watkins in the very immediate build-up. And from some angles it looks like it's come off his arm, from another angle it looks like it's come clean off his chest.
I agree, it looked like it had come off more of his chest.
Now the ball is with Nias, red boots on midway inside the Aston Villa half. Young boys from left to right in yellow and black. Aston Villa have got everybody back behind the ball in their change kit. You can have your say later on the sports bar on Talksport. 03717 223344 if you're an Aston Villa fan and listening to us. Cross from Hadjam from the left, cleared away by Tielemans under pressure from Montero. He's fouled, and that'll be an Aston Villa free kick.
Well played, Yuri Tielemans. Did really well there. Got himself back, tracked the run of Montero. Cross coming in off the left-hand side. He meets it first, he controls it. Absolutely fully aware of the man around him. Makes sure he controls it, gets his body between opponent and the ball. Draws the foul, pressure relief. Perfect with just a couple of minutes before half-time.
And half-time in the Champions League at Juventus 2, PSV 0. That's the 5:45 kick-off. Milan against Liverpool live on Talksport at 8. Bayern Munich against Dinamo Zagreb. Real Madrid against Stuttgart. And Sporting against Lille. The other Champions League matches, and there's a programme of third-round action in the League Cup. We've got commentary of Manchester United against Barnsley here on Talksport 2 at 8. And Ian Danter, and we'll keep you up to date with all of the other scores from the League Cup and the Champions League this evening. With us, you won't miss anything. Tielemans on the halfway line. Less than 30 seconds of first half added time remain. Unai Emery just cajoling his Aston Villa players from the touchline. Onana, halfway line, square to Tielemans. Back to Pau Torres. Aston Villa keeping possession in a slightly congested midfield area, but keeping it with minimum fuss. Back they go to Martinez, the goalkeeper. It has been a more than satisfactory first half for Villa in Switzerland, and the half-time whistle goes. 2-0 up, and it could have been more. Yuri Tielemans scored that long-awaited first top-level European goal for more than 40 years for Aston Villa to open the scoring after 27 minutes. Then the local lad Jacob Ramsey made it 2. Ollie Watkins saw a goal ruled out after a VAR check. We thought Andy Townsend somewhat controversially, but all that being said, Unai Emery will be delighted with the half-time score of Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 2.
Yes, he will, and it's fully deserved. A bright start in possession without really posing too many threats. Then all of a sudden the home team started to show a little bit and had a bit of momentum for 10-15 minutes. But as soon as Villa got that all-important first goal, which was a really clever set play that they've worked from the corner, short from Digne and John McGinn, eventually the ball from McGinn going deep to the far post where Yuri Tielemans has got himself plenty of room, good strike. As soon as he puts that in the back of the net, it's been all Aston Villa. Could be 3, and I think there's more to come.
A memorable moment, a moment that a lot of Villa fans were waiting for. Of course, we know they've played in European competitions since 1982, but back at the top level for the very first time. It felt like that Yuri Tielemans strike really got them going, and they sort of lost maybe whatever weight of pressure they might have had in the early stages.
I think you're right. All their inhibitions went, didn't they? As soon as they got that first goal, all of a sudden it was the young boys team that were a little unsure and unsettled by that. Villa now all of a sudden bursting forward, always men available in front of the ball, which is lovely to have. Options left, right and centre, creating opportunities for Rodgers, for Watkins. Could have scored as well before the one that he had disallowed, Ollie Watkins. Ramsey coming to the fore using his pace. They just looked all of a sudden a completely different proposition, and the home team couldn't handle them, and deservedly got their second goal. Could have been 3. Now it's about doing the job properly, correctly, not switching off, making sure that everyone's aware of what they're doing. The manager can rotate when he needs to. They're in the perfect situation.
Just wonder, Andy, just briefly again on that third goal that was ruled out. I mean, VAR made that decision, it felt like very quickly.
It did.
If there's a replay which the angle looked more like he might have handled it, but then you see a different replay from a different angle where, to me, it looked like the ball went off his upper chest. I mean, I don't think there was any contact with the arm.
Yeah.
So that makes it more dubious, doesn't it?
Well, I I thought so, Joe. I've seen it from 2 or 3 angles like yourself, and I actually thought that it avoided Ollie Watkins' hands. And if it did touch his hands, I mean, it would have been the merest of glances. The main contact come off his chest, down onto the floor, onto his left foot, onto his right foot, sorry, and he fired it into the back of the net brilliantly. But look, the guys at VAR have checked it, and the referee, obviously going with that, said no goal, not a problem. They still have a very healthy lead in a really strong position in the game, and I'm fully expecting them to continue positively.
Okay, much more from Andy Townsend to come. We'll have second half commentary from Byrne. Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 2 is the half-time score, and we'll look ahead to our second commentary of the night, Manchester United against Barnsley in the third round of the Carabao Cup. We'll preview that next on Talksport 2.
Game day exclusive on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day.
When you first meet the one, it's electric. The attraction is intense. And it's tempting to rush things, but you need to take it slowly. Spend a couple of days together and let the relationship build. So when you fall in love with an electrified Ford like the new Explorer, Mustang Mach-E, and Kuga plug-in hybrid, we want you to spend quality time with them, which is why until the end of November, you can take one of Ford's electrified vehicles for a 48-hour test drive. Then you really know it's the one for you. Book your date today. Ford, bring on tomorrow. Search Ford 48-hour test drive. Test drive subject to availability.
You might want to step back from your speaker or remove your headphones.
Yes! I just can't believe it.
Mark's found out he's won £11.4 million on Lotto.
This is just... You know what? I've got tears in my eyes.
Yep, that's 11.4 million. Lotto, will you be the next millionaire? The National Lottery. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
At NatWest, we think Britain's small businesses are a big deal. It's why we've helped more businesses get started in the last year than any other UK bank. Get 2 years free banking on everyday transactions when you open a NatWest startup account, plus free digital tools and expert advice. Ready to take your first step? Search NatWest Business. Tomorrow begins today with NatWest, proud partner of Team GB. To verify, email checkit@natwest.com. Eligibility criteria, terms and conditions apply. Other fees may apply.
This Saturday night, Anthony Joshua goes toe-to-toe with Daniel Dubois in an epic all-British clash for the IBF World Heavyweight title, live at Wembley Stadium. Listen to TalkSport throughout the week for the build-up to the big fight, including updates from the weigh-in and all the latest news from both camps. Hear all the big fight build-up, all this week on TalkSport with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Watch Joshua versus Dubois this Saturday night, live on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com.
Talksport 2. Traffic and travel.
In Somerset, the M5 northbound has long queues after a collision involving 2 lorries at junction 22 for Burnham-on-Sea. In the West Midlands, the M5 northbound is partly blocked after a collision at junction 3 for Birmingham and the A456. And in West Sussex, the M23 coastbound is partly blocked after a collision between junction 10A for Crawley South and junction 11 for the A23. I'm Adam Moore.
Talksport Podcast League. Outspoken. The best of White and Jordan.
White versus Jordan. Now with added time.
Simon and I have a different sort of opinion on this, as we do on various things.
When the mics go live, the gloves come off.
That wasn't a proper fight. That was a tune-up.
Oh, no. Come on. Opinionated debate as combat sport.
And most of these teams have underachieved.
Outspoken.
Listen or download for free on the Talksport app.
My goodness, who could argue?
On your phone, on your smart speaker,
or from your favourite podcast portal.
The passion, the pain, and the poetry of the beautiful game.
Overhead kick! Brilliant goal!
The Champions League live on Talksport 2.
More than 4 long decades have passed, but they've finally returned to the highest level that European club football can offer. And this at the start of a fresh, revamped Champions League. that promises to be better than ever. Danger for Aston Villa. The ball is midway inside their own half of the field. Now Colin with jinking feet to spin away and shoot right-footed. What a hit! And it's onto the roof of the net. Tielemans brings it down and shoots! And Tielemans has scored! Aston Villa with their first top-level European goal for more than 40 years. Oh, Kamara with a terrible back pass. Watkins is fouled by the goalkeeper. Ramsey will roll it in anyway. It's 2 for Aston Villa, and it's the local lad, Villa boy, Jacob Ramsey has got it. He couldn't miss from right on the goal line. Aston Villa are loving their return to top-level European football. They're back in the Champions League, and they are now 2-0 up. Watkins is there left-footed, and again, Watkins scores! What a night this is turning into for Aston Villa! And the referee has disallowed it. You are listening to the Champions League live on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Rent from the best lineup in the UK. Enterprise has 450 branches with all the vehicles your business needs. Half-time in Bern. Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 2. Second half commentary coming up shortly. Don't forget at 8 o'clock on Talksport we'll have full commentary of Milan against Liverpool, and very shortly we'll look ahead to Manchester United against Barnsley in the Carabao Cup. That's live at 8 here on Talksport 2. At half-time in the Champions League, Juventus 2, PSV 0 is the latest score from the other 5:45 kick-off. The rest of the matches at 8, and Milan, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Dinamo Zagreb, Real Madrid against Stuttgart, and Sporting against Lille. The first night of the brand new format for the UEFA Champions League. As I say, once we're done here, we'll be off to Old Trafford for commentary of Manchester United against Barnsley in the Carabao Cup third round. So let's see what the odds are looking like with William Hill.
In the Zone on Talksport 2 with William Hill. Prepare for greatness with William Hill. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
And let's bring in Lee Phelps. Lee, good evening. Tell us what the odds are looking like.
Yeah, what a night of football so far. We've got so much more to come as well. Manchester United are 1-7, 7-1 on to beat Barnsley in 90 minutes tonight. 13-2 the draw. Barnsley are 20-1. I guess the question is, how much can Ten Hag weaken down? I wouldn't expect that he would do too much, to be honest with you. They need to be winning games. Barnsley, of course, the boss, Darrell Clark, is a long-time Man United fan, boyhood Man United fan, so I don't expect he'll weaken down too much as well. You always want a bit of collateral form in it when you're having a look at a bet, and when I look down the Barnsley results so far this season, not a bad start at all, but of course they played the Man United under-21s in the trophy and lost 3-2 at home, so that gives me enough to say, look, this is why Man United are 1-7. I'm willing to think Man United will win this, and maybe Barnsley get a consolation. It's 13-8 for Barnsley to get a goal, to Man United to win and both teams to score. And there's one player on Barnsley's list, Adam Phillips, who's been in great form, scored 4, set 1 up in his last 5. He's 9-2 to score at any time. So if you don't want to be back in Man United at 1-7, but you want a bit of interest on the Barnsley side, then maybe Phillips is the way to go. In those Champions League matches, by the way, we've got William Hill's top hacker, part of our commitment to great pricing this season. Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid and Sporting Lisbon all to win at 5-1. That's William Hill's top hacker, 5-1, available on the app, williamhill.com, and in shops tonight. And just before I leave you, what a game this is already for Aston Villa. I mean, they're prohibitively short now to win this game from 2-0 up at half-time. 25-1 on they are to win this game from here. There's one bet I spotted in the in-play markets I liked, and that's Ollie Watkins to score next at 5-1. He had that disallowed goal, of course, just before half-time. Ollie Watkins to score next at 5-1, and you get impact sub on your side. So whoever replaces Ollie Watkins, he carries on your bet if he doesn't score next. So I like that one. Ollie Watkins to score next, 5-1. If John Duran comes on for him, he scored 3 as a sub already.
Yeah, you wouldn't bet against it, would you, Lee? Could be interesting. Thank you very much. That's all thanks to William Hill. Get epic value all season with William Hill. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
In the Zone on Talksport 2 with William Hill. Prepare for greatness with William Hill. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
So it is a big night of Carabao Cup third round action to come on the Talksport network. Our commentary game this evening on Talksport 2 comes from Old Trafford. It's Manchester United against Barnsley. Really looking forward to this one. It'll be watched by the former England defender Mickey Gray, who's alongside Ian Danter. Good evening.
Talking to you, Joe, there's going to be 6,500 Barnsley fans making the trip across from Yorkshire to cheer on the Tykes to see whether they can cause one heck of an upset. Premier League against League One. Mickey Gray, as you mentioned, Joe, is with me. We're here in the Bobby Charlton stand. Seats starting to fill up. You were at the press conference.
I was.
Eric Ten Hag held. What was the mood from the Manchester United point of things going into this one, Mickey?
I think he was buoyed a little bit after the weekend's result dance as well, but he certainly did talk about this game and the importance of it. Let's not forget, being his first cup win as manager of Manchester United, Eric Ten Hag. But I think the focal point was pretty much on Anthony, and we were just having a conversation off air, weren't we, of whether he was going to start tonight or whether he wasn't, and his attitude, what it's been like in training. He was asked about that a lot. It was the question that I, funny enough, asked him when I was in the press conference. And I'm not sure. Sometimes you get a little bit of a vibe of whether you think he's going to play, but if he's not in the starting 11 tonight, I think that says a lot about where Anthony's future at Manchester United's going to be.
As in lack of. What of Barnsley? Can you make a case for Darryl Clark's Tykes coming here and causing an upset?
Well, look, I think I've probably done the same as you, Dan. So I've read a few pieces on the game tonight, and he said, look, it's a free hit for us. We want to go there and want to enjoy ourselves. We know they get the ball down and play. They've done that over the last 2 or 3 seasons. Came close from getting promoted out of League One back into the Championship. Fell at the final hurdle, to be honest with you, but I think, he's probably looking at injuries. They've got a big game, haven't they, against Burton at the weekend. I think he wants to take that one super serious because they can't fall behind any further in that league as they already have. So, depending on how many changes he makes tonight, but this should really be a Manchester United win, and it should be easy. They should score a lot of goals. It should be an entertaining game of football, depending on how many changes Ten Hag makes himself.
Well, Joe, we'll let you know exactly how many changes have been made to the respective lineups in about 10 minutes time. We kick off at 8 o'clock live on Talksport 2 at Old Trafford. Manchester United taking on Barnsley.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. Thanks very much indeed, Dance and Mickey Gray, former England defender, alongside Ian Dancer. And for commentary tonight on Talksport 2, live from the third round of the Carabao Cup, Milan against Liverpool is on Talksport. That's also an 8 o'clock kick-off tomorrow night. And Manchester City take on Inter on Talksport. Coventry-Tottenham in the Carabao Cup is on Talksport 2 on Thursday. Atalanta against Arsenal in the Champions League is on Talksport. Aston Villa are halfway through to an historic victory on their return to European football's top level. They're going to bring on Diego Carlos at half-time for the young fullback Lamar Bogard. I think that's the only change ahead of the second half in a game that is brought to you in partnership with TNT, the home of European football. There's going to be a change for Young Boys Bern as well. Up goes the board of the fourth official. It's the number 20, Czech Nias, who's going to be leaving the field at half-time, and his replacement is Meshak Elia, who has just 1 goal to his name so far this season. Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 2. The referee has looked at his watch. The skies have got much darker here now in this part of Switzerland. The floodlights are shimmering up ahead, and what a night this is turning into for Aston Villa. They will get the second half underway from left to right in the change kit tonight. Dark blue shirts, white shorts and black socks, and Young Boys in yellow and black playing from right to left. So Villa kicking away from the north end, which houses those 1,600 away supporters in one corner. Tielemans and Ramsey with the first 2 goals of Aston Villa's return to Champions League football. Martinez has given the ball away straight from kick-off. Onana's made an important interception, and he was caught by Zandro Lauper. Not actually sure which way that free kick has gone. Andy Townsend alongside.
Yeah, a sloppy pass from Emi Martinez, a little there, straight ball, and Lauper's fully committed to it. I think Amadou Onana's always getting there a little bit before the Young Boys midfield player. He just therefore gets caught a little. But yeah, a couple of changes, you should say. One for the home team, Villa's one. Actually, Lauper's got a yellow card there, Joe, as well.
He has.
For that challenge, being a little late on Onana. But Diego Carlos on, Bogard on, which means Ezri Konsa will go right back. Diego Carlos will slot into the central defensive position alongside Pau Torres.
Onana limps up to his feet. Let's run through the starting 11s for you again. Aston Villa, who lead by 2-0, have Martinez in goal, Konsa, Diego Carlos, Pau Torres and Digne at the back. Onana, Tielemans, McGinn and Ramsey in midfield. Rodgers and Watkins, who had a goal disallowed after a VAR check up front for young boys. Von Balmus is the goalkeeper. Athakami, Kamara, Zukru and Hadjam are at the back. Colli, Lauper, Montero and Elia are in midfield, with Ugrincic and Ganvula up front. The ball is at the feet of Yuri Tielemans, bursting into the centre circle on this plastic pitch, almost threaded it right through the middle to Watkins. That's a great interception on the slide by Zukru. And
certainly was, Joe, because that ball from Yuri Tielemans from central midfield nearly finding Ollie Watkins.
PSV behind it, Juventus elsewhere in the Champions League. It's Colli crosses from the young boys left, headed away by Pau Torres of Aston Villa. Villa back at this level for the first time since 1982-83. They have never won an away game in Switzerland. And now the ball has gone out of play on that far side of the field. Ramsey tangling with the newly arrived Meshak Elia, and he's somehow, while bending forward in a tangle of legs with Ramsey, it looked like he was trying to trip him up with his hands.
Looks like he did, yeah. Anyway, throw into Villa, no harm done. And again, I think they'll just want to get back into their stride as soon as they possibly can. I think once they assert themselves once more in possession, once they get Diego Carlos, Pau Torres, Ezri Konsa closer to the halfway line, I think more chances will come for Villa.
Charging over the halfway line is Rodgers. He's run 30 yards, he shoots right-footed and he's hammered it over the top. The run forward was really promising. Again, maybe, I don't want to bring up the pitch overly, Andy, but I wonder whether that will have bobbled up in front of Rodgers as he tried to strike that goalwards.
It just sat up a bit, didn't it, for him, but when he picked that ball up there 10 yards into the young boys' half and then got the chance to turn and then run at people, he's unstoppable. Morgan Rodgers, he's been so good at that this season in the Premier League, and he's now taking that into European football too tonight. He's been really good in that respect once more. The shot, unfortunately, always rising over the bar.
Juventus 3, PSV Eindhoven 0 is the latest score in the other 5:45 starts at the very beginning of a new Champions League season with a brand new format, of course, and this new 36-team league campaign. There'll be quite a bit of unpredictability, I think, as this campaign goes on. You might not know who goes through, certainly not automatically into the top 8 places until very late on in the 8 games each team has to play. Luca Digne pulls it back towards Rodgers in the penalty area. Ugrincic gets there to clear.
Lucky. And I think you're right, Joe. Oh, just 1 second, just as we see this develop for Villa.
Tielemans has won it back and he's won a throw.
Yeah, just coming back to the format, I think you're right. As I mentioned earlier at the start of the game, too many of the games, the last few, could be a dead rubbers.
And now Rodgers tries to cross down by the dead ball line and it's out of play for a corner to Aston Villa. 2-0 they lead, 4.5 minutes into the second half, and they're attacking the end that houses the most vocal young boys supporters. They've got big yellow and black banners behind the goal. It's a 2-tiered stadium. This holds about 32,000 or so. Aston Villa's next game in the Champions League, a classic at home to Bayern Munich. Luca Digne with the corner, left-footed and out-swinging, high up into the air towards Konsa, headed away. It'll drop down to Tielemans on the edge of the D on the half volley. Couldn't get the shot in on the stretches, flicked it wide to the right. Watkins has held it up neatly, then he's tried to glide the ball infield, and it's hit the arm of Ugrincic despite his appeals, and it's a free kick.
Yeah, it is a handball, yeah. Ollie Watkins just trying to poke that back to Tielemans. Ugrincic, it was almost trying to get his hand down the way.
Played the innocent, didn't he? Rolled his arms behind his back long after he'd handballed.
Exactly. Chance now, Villa, wide free kick. Can they deliver something? Diego Carlos on now as well, who's a huge guy.
Konsa is forward too. John McGinn left-footed and then swinging, headed up into the air. Only half away from danger by Kamara. The loose ball will be retrieved by Hadjam. Gets it back from Colli in the left-back position and gives it away. Aston Villa look very comfortable here early in the second half, leading 2-0.
Yeah, pretty composed in possession. Of course, if they need to, they can always go back to Emi Martinez, who puts his foot on the ball 20 yards outside his area before firing a diagonal one to John McGinn in lots of space down the right.
Lovely touch from McGinn, all left foot as he steers the ball back in field to the feet of Tielemans, midway inside Young Boys half of the field. Now Tielemans the number 8 again. Little touch left to Ramsey, who scored the second Aston Villa goal. And tune in front live on Talksport 2. Whatever happens tonight, you can have your say, Villa fans, on the sports bar on Talksport. From 10. Morgan Rogers on the edge of the D, gets the return ball back from Watkins. Rogers left-footed shot, charged down, and it looked like it might be about to spiral into the feet of Watkins, but fortunately for Young Boys, their goalkeeper and captain Von Balmoes was there to collect.
Yeah, combining really nicely now, Watkins and Morgan Rogers. As soon as they get the ball between them, they're looking for each other, finding each other, little 1-2s, give and goes. Oh, they've got a nice understanding going already, those two.
They give you the Aston Villa subs as well. Leon Bailey, Ross Barkley, that's a poor header away by Conser, and he ended up flicking it back towards his own goal. Martinez was out to claim. I don't know whether maybe Ganvulu was offside anyway. And the Villa bench, Bailey, Barkley, Buendia, Duran, Gauci and Zich, the two goalkeepers, Nedjelkovic, Matson, Swinkles and Young, two of the lesser-known youngsters on the Aston Villa bench, as Martinez clatters the ball high downfield. Watkins has held that up brilliantly under pressure from Kamara, who was badly at fault for the second goal with a dreadful back pass. And actually, if the ball hadn't fallen to Ramsey for the second goal, I'm sure Aston Villa would have had a penalty, and the goalkeeper who committed the foul might well have been sent off. Watkins has worked it wide to Rogers. Back now to John McGinn. There's a swagger about Aston Villa now early in this second half. They look very confident on the ball. Little touch by Ramsey in a tight area, back to Onana, 35 yards out, gets a second chance at the pass. He goes square to Tielemans, angled ball out wide to Luca Digne, left-footed cross cleared away on the volley by Kamara. It's dropped down to Onana with his back to goal. There was a foul earlier on in that move from the substitute Elia, and he gets a booking for catching Tielemans out.
Yeah, second time, unfortunately. Elia is keen to get involved and do well, but all he's done so far, unfortunately, is foul the Aston Villa players. That one there, he catches Yuri Tielemans on the shin. Absolutely right from the referee to brandish the yellow card. Chance for Villa, perhaps 30 yards out. Not sure whether they're going to take the direct shot here. No, more than that, more like 35 yards out. Yuri Tielemans. Everybody up at the back end of the 18-yard line. Maybe he's going to stand something up, or is he going to test the goalie?
And Yuri Tielemans, one arm up into the air. It's a right-footed driven shot goalwards, and it's dropped onto the roof of the net. I think the goalkeeper would have had it covered anyway. Not a bad attempt, but a yard or so over the top.
Yeah, long way out that. And when you're 35 yards out, as that one was, then that's really got to be absolutely in the top corner, because the goalie's got time to scramble across the line and get there.
Less than 10 minutes into the second half, and already plenty of frustration starting to show for the vast majority of the 32,000 strong crowd. It's a lovely city, Bern in Switzerland, and the Aston Villa fans have enjoyed their trip. 1,600 have travelled to the stadium, and more enjoying the atmosphere in the city, in the build-up and after the game, no doubt. Conser's long throw to Watkins, right edge of the penalty area, blocked off by Hadjam, the left-back, who has looked quite promising going forward. Good ball with the outside of his foot towards the halfway line, but it's well intercepted by Diego Carlos. Aston Villa really dominating possession and territory now. Hadjam's won it back in front of McGinn in the left-back spot, but Young Boys don't look like they have the quality at the moment to get anywhere near breaching that Aston Villa back line.
I think if Villa are to find a third in the next 10 minutes before that sort of 70-minute mark, I think the spirit of the home team will be well and truly broken. As it is, they have a fighting chance if they can just find a situation or create something. Villa don't look like they're under any threat at all, but it does only take a moment for someone to switch off, just lose your focus, your concentration. So obviously they'll need to make sure, Villa, that they do it properly, wait for that right moment to add to the two that they've already got.
Sandro Lampa's got the ball at the halfway line for Young Boys, not moving with it at any great pace. He has played it square to Kamara, who had a lot to say in the build-up to this game, but hasn't looked the most elegant of central defenders, I think, to put it mildly. wildly, lofted downfield by Hadjam up the middle, and the header away by Diego Carlos. The offside flag is up. Choice of listening tonight across the Talksport network at 8 o'clock. Milan against Liverpool on Talksport. Here on Talksport 2, commentary from the Carabao Cup. Manchester United against Barnsley, and Ian Danter's got the team news.
8 changes for Manchester United from the weekend win at Southampton. Only Dalot, Eriksson and Rashford have started both games with tonight. Anthony, who we spoke about earlier on the programme, does start for Manchester United, and a full debut for Ugarte. Just 3 changes for the visitors Barnsley. Pines, Craig and Keeler Dunn come out. The first Sri Lankan Tamil to play in UK professional football, Yoganathan, plays in midfield, and also Max Watters comes in up top. It's Manchester United Barnsley, 8 o'clock, live on Talksport 2.
Thanks Ian. Ian Danter will be alongside former England defender Mickey Gray for commentary straight away once we're done here with all of the action in Bern. Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 2. You haven't missed anything. We are 11 and a half minutes into the second half. The game's obviously got plenty of time to go, Andy Townsend. It's not going to peter out just yet, but at the moment it's hard to see any other outcome other than an Aston Villa victory.
Yeah, because Villa are just happy to sit in their shape when Young Boys have possession. They don't have to go after it. They don't have to. It hasn't got to be a high press. It's just got to be a control about what they're doing and an understanding, making sure that everyone's together.
Lovely touch by Watkins to glide away from Zukru. Throwing the ball wide to the left, and Ramsey. Villa know they don't have to force the issue here. And on the left-hand side, the far side is Digne, always making those overlapping runs. And Digne's in the penalty area now. Blocked off by Kamara before he could shoot. Kamara hammers it high into the stand. But there could be more goals in this for Unai Emery's team.
Yeah, unlucky. Nice football down Villa's left. Again, eventually the ball played into Morgan Rogers. Clever little flick round the corner to put Luca Digne in behind the Young Boys' back four. But in the end, that ball just got away from him, and the home team were able to scramble it away for a throw-in on the far side to Aston Villa.
And this game is brought to you in partnership with TNT, the home of European football. Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 2. As the ball is cleared away downfield. We've got a choice of listening for you tomorrow night as well on the network. Manchester City against Inter on Talksport at the same time, 8 o'clock. Coventry against Tottenham in the third round of the Carabao Cup on Talksport 2. Make sure you download our app. That way you can swipe between both stations at your leisure. Atalanta against Arsenal is on Thursday night here on Talksport. Now on the halfway line for Villa is Pau Torres. Rattles the ball into the feet of Onana, whose close control was good. He's worked it back to Tielemans, gap through the middle to shoot from 35 yards, and it's into the chest of the goalkeeper von Valmoos. You could see the intent of Tielemans, Andy Townsend.
Yeah, really good play from Yuri Tielemans. Again, picked it up 40 odd yards out, strode forward, and actually was going to really lace it. In the end, tried to wrap his foot around it, and it went pretty much straight forward into the goalkeeper's hands.
They're not far off, and John Duran is going to get to be introduced in just a few moments. What a start to the season he's had. 3 goals in 4. All of those 4 appearances coming off the bench for Aston Villa. And that for a man, Andy, who nearly left the club over the summer.
Very true, yeah. I think there was genuine talk at one point about him maybe moving on. Talented player, no doubt. But what he's come back with this year, Joe, is a great attitude, great mindset. When he comes off the bench, it's not a substitute that sort of strolls off the bench. It's someone who comes onto the field with wanting to make an impact. Once more, it's Ollie Watkins that makes way for John Duran.
And so, no Champions League goal yet for Watkins. He who had a goal ruled out after a VAR check in the first half, but Duran will be keen to extend this amazing start to the season that he's enjoying. What a winner against Everton at the weekend.
My goodness, what a
strike. Goal of the season, but
listen, as a member of the left-footed club, I absolutely love that strike from John Duran. That was an absolute stonker of a strike, wasn't it? It really was. It was just an incredible hit. Jordan Pickford, no chance with that one, I'm afraid.
That was the match winner at the weekend. Here is an opportunity for Ganvula to win a corner for Young Boys. It's not really felt like there's been any jeopardy in the game for some time, and I guess Aston Villa have got to be wary about the fact that it is only a 2-0 lead, and of course in this game that we all love, things can change. Half an hour to go.
Yeah, corner this time. And you're right, Joe, it just takes a split second for someone to switch off, just lose concentration. and you can concede something, all of a sudden it's game on. Villa got to beware that.
One by Ganvula, corner at the north end of the stadium. That houses the Villa fans in one corner. Ugrincic, right-footed in, swing into the 6-yard box, and it's a good bit of defending at the back post by Rodgers as Kamara was racing in and attacking it. Don't think he got any contact on the ball. Maybe there was a glancing touch off his shoulder as it went behind.
Yep. Little block there that they worked. Diego Carlos just lost Kamara, the centre-half, for a split second, but Morgan Rodgers doing enough at the back post to steer that away.
And they're going to make a double change now, I think, the home team. You can understand that. Feels like the game is very much going away from them, so there'll be a double substitution for the team in yellow and black here. All eyes on the near side of the field. They're not going to get to make the change just yet because the ball's back in play. Martinez with a really risky pass and amazing strength from Onana to hold off the challenge of Ugrincic. I think Onana caught Ugrincic inadvertently there, and Onana's carried the ball forward up to the halfway line, and Aston Villa have possession. The young boys' boss, Patrick Rayman, is saying the game should be stopped. The referee doesn't think so, and now it's given away sloppily in the right back position by Montero. Aston Villa throw deep inside opposition territory.
Yep, maybe time for those substitutions now. Ugrincic just got caught in the face by a flailing arm. Onana totally in control of the situation. Villa playing under pressure in their own box, as they often do. Onana doing really well to protect the ball.
Colley and Hadjam will leave the field. Abdou Conte, who is a defensive-minded player, will take to the field, and the other man to come on is Alan Virginius, who has got a decent goal-scoring record, 5 goals so far this season since joining Young Boys on loan from Lille. He certainly gives them another attacking option. In fact, there might have been a few surprises in Swiss media that he wasn't chosen to start this game tonight. Alan Virginius, he's onto the field for Young Boys, a double change. 63 minutes into the game, but Aston Villa remain in control.
They're looking for some sort of spark, which I'm afraid hasn't really been there.
Yeah,
Young Boys since 10 minutes into the game, really. They've just struggled to stitch anything worthwhile together.
Lucadinha's in behind on the far side of the left. The offside trap didn't work there, and he's pulled it back high towards the edge of the box, and Lauper racing back to thump it clear on the volley. Young Boys nil, Aston Villa 2 in the Champions League, live on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day. Rodgers collects possession, 25 yards out left of centre, sea of yellow shirts in front of him. So McGinn, the captain, has to go square to Onana again. Midway into the opposition half, Ramsey's ball out to the left, the overlapping run of Lucadinha, who crosses, it'll fall to McGinn, back post brings it down, left-footed shot blocked, it'll drop down for the shot from Ramsey, and it's tipped over the top by the goalkeeper. That's an excellent reaction save, otherwise Villa would have been home and dry.
Yeah, John McGinn perhaps could have got the strike away a little quicker than he did. Another great run from Lucadinha down the left, far post cross to John McGinn, who just takes the extra touch. The shot is blocked, but it ricochets to Jacob Ramsey about a yard inside the box, hits it first time with his right foot. Really good hand from Von Balmoos to send that over the top for another Villa corner.
The captain makes a good save, otherwise it would have been 3. 20 minutes into the second half, corner at the south end of the stadium. That's where all of the very traditional European banners are, the banners and the flags, and where the flares were let off before the game. Tielemans takes the corner short to John McGinn. McGinn goes on the outside of the defender, lofts the cross in, right-footed. It's a brilliant ball, headed away, hit on the volley by Duran, and that took a big deflection off Kamara, spirals up into the air, and out of play for another Villa corner.
Yeah, as ever, Villa having really good movement from their corners and set plays. Do spend a lot of time working at those, and again, once more there, the yellow shirts just a little desperate with that defending. So another corner, this time off Villa's left side.
Outswinger from Lucadinha, lofted high to the edge of the 6-yard box. Not the best of deliveries, swinging away from goal. Cleared upfield by Elia, and then the throw won by Aston Villa just inside opposition territory. Good work by Jacob Ramsey. this is all about, well, you always, if you're in it to win it. The road to the Allianz Arena in Munich, the Champions League final at the very end of May. Of course, Real Madrid once again are the defending champions. Aston Villa have got back-to-back home games in this competition next. Bayern Munich, that'll be a classic at the start of October, and then Bologna.
Some mouth-watering ties to look forward to. There really is. Celtic at Villa Park as well is going to be a fabulous game to watch.
Juventus as well, Andy.
Yeah, so many good ones, Joe. There really are. That's the exciting part, I think, about the new format. Is that there are genuinely other great nights to look forward to, other than perhaps just the 14 groups that we've become accustomed to.
And maybe there'll be a little more jeopardy as we get to the closing stages of this league phase that they're calling it. Jacob Ramsey collects possession, left of centre, now 35 yards out. Digne playing like a left winger in this second half. Infield to Onana, about 10 yards from the edge of the box. He's worked the pass to Ramsey in a tight area. Now from the dead ball line, the cross comes in from Duran, and it's gone behind for another corner. Last quarter of the game, 2-0 Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Has he got some ice on his ankle, Ollie Watkins? He has.
He has, on the back of his Achilles there. And that's a slight concern. It might be just a little kick. It might be something that he felt during the game. It might have been a recurring problem that he's had for a while. Played a lot of football, of course, and trained a lot throughout the summer, Ollie Watkins, so obviously protecting that as much as they can.
Villa at home to Wolves in the Premier League on Saturday. That's one to watch. Corner which Dean wants to take. He's not going to get the chance to do so just yet. Word from the referee for Duran and the newly arrived substitute Virginius. Digne has rolled the corner right to the edge of the box. Tielemans brings it down. Couldn't quite get the shot away this time. It was another well-worked corner routine from Aston Villa, and a lovely ball for Jacob Ramsey to Pau Torres in the box. He lays it wide to Digne, lofts it in high, nearly reached Rodgers, headed away. Comes back up to Diego Carlos, who steers it into the box on his first appearance of the season. Young boys deal with that, and then Ugrincic, who is a bit of a specialist in throwing himself to the ground, does so again, and Onana, I think, has actually come off worse in that it would completely accidental clash between the two of them.
Yeah.
Does he need to go to ground again?
No, he doesn't.
Ugrincic, Andy, come on.
No, he doesn't need to go to ground. It's actually something, I think, Joe, and I've seen it a lot in the Premier League this season, where players are throwing themselves to the ground, immediately looking at the referee, looking for a card. So we're almost getting to a situation now at times when every foul that's committed in a game, a card's being brandished for it, which I don't like. I think the modern day players have to be a little bit more respectful of each other in that respect. Yes, you're always seeking to get some sort of advantage on the field, of course you are, but earn it, get it the right way. Don't get it by rolling around on the floor.
I've just seen a replay of an incident on our monitor in the commentary position as well, where Ramsey's been, Ganvula's left his foot in really late on Ramsey, who's getting some treatment now.
And that's the annoying one, that when someone does raise a boot on you, Joe, a little bit and catches you, nothing gets done about it. You know, always the referees don't see that, and the officials don't get those.
And they're never going to look at it as a VAR check, obviously, because you can only check for red cards. Correct. But that's a yellow, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Objectively,
it is. You're right.
And Scott Minto, who's doing the commentary of the Milan game, will tell you, I always want to see players sent off. I don't. I just want some consistency from the referees.
No, exactly. That's all we want. But I do think players could help themselves a little more, and I'm not accusing certainly anything that's gone on here tonight. It's not been that bad. We've seen Ugrincic a couple of times just dramatically throw himself to the floor trying to get a free kick, but I've seen a few Premier League games this season when I've just been a little disappointed at the amount of yellow cards I've seen. I did the Bournemouth-Chelsea game at the weekend, which had 14, I believe. You know, and I think when you're getting up into that sort of levels, they're not all for bad challenges. A lot of it was for petty stuff, and it's unnecessary. If you get tackled, you hit the floor, you get back up, you get on with the game. That's the nature of what football, certainly in the Premier League, has always been about. I hope we see a lot more of that sort of attitude in the Champions League as well.
They've been temporarily down to 10. Onana's gone off temporarily, having received some treatment, and in fact Ramsey was off the pitch as well, so they're, I think, down to 9 at the moment, still waiting for both to come on. 2-0 to Aston Villa. I mentioned Scott Minto will be on commentary duty with Jim Proudfoot shortly for Milan against Liverpool on Talksport. Same time here on 2, Manchester United against Barnsley. And that's followed by the Sports Bar on Talksport 03717 223344. And Dean Saunders will be alongside Alan Brazil tomorrow morning on Talksport Breakfast for all of the reaction. Villa fans, you'll love that, especially if it stays 2-0. Given away though by Villa. It'll drop into the penalty area now for Ganvula to curl one. Turned away by Martinez. That was a smart save by the goalkeeper. Ramsey and Onana are back on the pitch now, but Villa nearly did concede.
Yeah, he did indeed. Diego Carlos rolling a very dangerous ball to Yuri Tielemans that never found the target. And it was very, very quickly picked up by young boys. Eventually, Ganvula has the strike. Emi Martinez leaps to his left to make sure it doesn't find the corner of the net, but totally unnecessary in Diego Carlos' poor play.
Cross to the right-hand side, Ganvula goes in again. That's a great defensive header from Diego Carlos this time. He's been fouled by Ganvula, who protests his innocence. Villa are concerned about the potential head injury to Diego Carlos, who's holding his head. This game is brought to you in partnership with TNT, the home of European football. It's Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 2 in the Champions League. Live on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes, so if you've got a plan, we've got a van. I mean, it's an accidental collision between those two, but good to see Diego Carlos sitting up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I've just seen a rerun of the pass that he gave to Yuri Tielemans, which wasn't on. It was never on. Ugrinčić onto it very quickly, and from the edge of the 18-yard box, centre of the goal, Ganvula has a strike with his right foot that's going in, but thankfully Emi Martinez, as he often does, has read it and has seen it and has flown to his left to make sure he gets a good hand on it.
Yeah, parried away by Martinez. Diego Carlos helped to his feet. And no sign of any further changes yet for Aston Villa, but of course Unai Emery has the luxury of 3 more potential subs, so should he want to bring them on. 18 minutes to go in Bern. Near enough a perfect night for Aston Villa. We'll obviously get news relatively shortly, I'm sure, about the ice pack on the ankle of Ollie Watkins. It might just be a complete precaution.
Hopefully, but, and again, very rarely, Joe, do you take to the field in a Premier League match at this level or a Champions League match feeling absolutely 100%. There's often something that's niggling and chipping away, and might have been for a few weeks, and you just have to learn to live with it and get on with it. If you worry about every little knock as a professional player, you won't get enough games under your belt. You just won't make enough matches. So inevitably there are times when you take the risk, you play if something's not quite right. Of course, if it's a real concern, then it would be wise to give it a breather. But if you think you can do it, my advice is to play.
Ball out on the right-hand side. It's Athakami, the right-back, who crosses for Young Boys. Well dealt with at the near post by Diego Carlos. 17 minutes to go. Young Boys have started to enjoy a little bit more possession. The crowd are getting louder here inside the stadium, but it doesn't really feel like there's too much difference in the momentum of the game. That Ganvula effort saved by Martinez, the only effort that Young Boys have managed in the second half so far. It doesn't get any easier for them. And by the way, Andy, away at Barcelona next in the Champions League.
Yeah, not going to be easy at all, that. But you're right, Joe. They've been a little better. I think, coupled with the fact that Villa have sat off a bit, playing a little deeper now, happy to let Young Boys have the ball and then just try and intercept when it's played forward.
Headed away by Pau Torres, and then Ugrinčić with a good snapshot left-footed, and that's a good bit of handling by Martinez, because it really spat up at him at very close range off the plastic pitch, and the goalkeeper's hands were good.
Yeah, as ever. So reliable, isn't he now, Emi Martinez? Genuinely one of the best operating anywhere. I think you'll find another shot dipped just in front of him, but again, just made sure that he gathered it, hung on to it, took his time, and just allowed the team to reset and get ready to go again.
Nothing wrong with that from the goalkeeper. Long ball driven high downfield for Young Boys towards Ganvula, and Montero couldn't get on the end of it either. Ball is back with Martinez once more. He has had to make a couple of smart saves. There was one in the first half to deny Collie as well. Goalkeeper's been called into action on a couple of occasions now, but you wouldn't say there's been a really clear-cut opportunity for the Swiss team.
No, there hasn't been. they've shown decent spirit and plenty of commitment for the cause second half without really stretching Villa and getting in behind and causing them big problems. Everything predominantly has been in front of Aston Villa this evening, and so much easier to deal with when everything's coming at you from straighter angles. You can get in front of your man, hold your position, deal with it. It's when they get wide, get to the byline, crossing balls, cutting things back, that's when all of a sudden everything becomes a bit more difficult.
We've got just a quarter of an hour to go. Live on Talksport 2 will be at Old Trafford for Carabao Cup action. Manchester United against Barnsley once we're done here. Long ball drifted on the diagonal towards the onrushing Elia, the substitute. He can't keep it in play. It'll be a goal kick to Aston Villa, away to our left-hand side. Villa have made a very positive start to the season. It looks like being 4 wins from 5 in all competitions. The only defeat coming in the Premier League at home to Arsenal. Arsenal will start their Champions League campaign this season at Atalanta on Thursday. That's live on Talksport. Good turn by Rodgers on the halfway line. He's blocked off and wins a free kick. Much to the frustration of the home supporters, the Bulgarian referee got the decision right.
That's the difference as well, Joe, this season with the Champions League. Not only the format, but also playing on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
You know, which can kind of throw you out of sync a little bit. Players that are used to very much nowadays playing pretty much any day of the week, in all fairness. But with European football, it's usually been Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then you're ready to either go again on the Saturday and the Sunday. So with those Thursdays thrown in, it just disrupts the week a little bit.
It'll be fascinating to see how many points are required for automatic qualification, I think in particular, to be in that top 8 out of 36 teams. You need 5, 6, 7 wins.
I would have thought 5 wins is going to be pretty much near as damn it, you know, with a draw as well thrown in.
Good ball, Duran out to the left-hand side. Ramsey driving forward, back to Duran! Oh. He's got his goal again!
Wow.
John Duran, super sub once more. It's his 4th of the season. It's another spectacular finish. He's stared it into the corner from the edge of the penalty area, first time left-footed. He jumps up on top of the advertising hoardings to celebrate in front of the home fans. What a night this is in the Champions League for Aston Villa. VAR might take a look at it, because there may have been, I have to say, a handball by Onana in the build-up, so we'll wait to see whether this is ruled out. What an unerring finish nonetheless.
Brilliant.
From John Duran, who at the moment has made it 3-0.
Yes, stunning finish from John Duran. Brilliant sweeping move from Villa. Beautifully hit and controlled the strike. I mean, it really is. Goalkeeper's got no chance. There was definitely a handball from Amadou Onana, but 60 yards from goal. 60 yards back. Honestly, the referee is just about to brandish a yellow card to someone here, Joe.
Might be for Duran for those celebrations. He's still looking up into the sky, yellow card, and I wonder whether this is going to be ruled out, Andy. When you look at VAR is checking it, and you can only think for a possible handball against Onana. The referee is pointing at Onana.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be ruled out, is it?
I think so. It definitely hit Onana's hand, but it's a long way. A lot of football happened between that handball and John Duran slamming it in the back of the net. It's not like a strike, not like the Ollie Watkins one where it hits his hand and then Watkins bashes it in the back of the net. This is a long way back, but it's going to get ruled out.
I find it interesting that they've sent the referee to check the monitor to look at the handball again and again and again. I mean, it obviously wasn't in a natural position, and for the second time tonight, Aston Villa have a goal ruled out after a VAR check because of a handball, and John Duran can't believe it. Unai Emery is desperately frustrated, Andy, and Duran, it's such a shame because it was a magnificent finish, but it'll come to nothing. It stays 2-0 to Aston Villa.
It certainly does. Yes, it did hit Onana's hand, but
was it unnatural, first of all, the position?
Well, again, I think, Joe, in this situation, it's happened such a long way from goal. There's a lot of football that's played. There's a lot of opportunity for young boys to get the ball back, to defend it better than they did from that sort of distance. I mean, they've now got a free kick where the handball took place 40 yards from Villa's goal.
10 minutes to go, 2-0 Aston Villa, long from Magrincic. Martinez, excellent goalkeeper.
Brilliant goalkeeper. But I don't think that sort of goal should be disrupted or disallowed for a handball. Honestly, I don't. I think that's not in keeping with the spirit of the game. Onana hasn't intended to handball it, it's just hit his hand a little bit, and then all of a sudden it drops down. 4 or 5 passes later, 60 yards later, all of a sudden Onana whacks it in the, I beg your pardon, Duran whacks it in the back of the net, but it gets chalked off. I think that's harsh, I really do.
Unai Emery was not happy. Strong words with the fourth official. It'll be interesting to hear his reaction after the game, but it is still 2-0 to Aston Villa. They're still very much in command as Ramsey jinks in field and finds Rodgers midway inside Young Boys territory. The 81st minute now. Esri Konsa might take aim from the edge of the box and he fires it wide. He sort of sliced across it, didn't he? And it was always going wide of goal.
Yeah. Of course, the upshot of that is John Duran gets a yellow card for his celebration
for a
of
goal
the
that didn't count.
That doesn't count. And he's not getting that back, so yeah, it's still, I think, a little unfair, that particular decision and that type of handball.
And Joel Montero has also been booked for Young Boys. I think in the aftermath of all of that, I think he was either telling the referee to book Duran or trying to get him off the edge of the advertising hoarding. It was an unbelievable finish. The ball actually started outside the post, didn't it, Andy?
It did.
Cross from Magrincic, and it's brought down in the penalty area by Ganvula, who, from a seated position under the challenge of Pau Torres and Diego Carlos, sandwiching between the dark blue shirts, he hooked it up into the air. Martinez able to gather. Doesn't look like it was anything like a penalty kick.
No.
Ganvula thought he was being held by Diego Carlos.
Just got to be a little careful with Diego Carlos there with his arms on shoulders. Certainly Ganvula's got a fair bit of Diego Carlos's shirt and shorts. Backing in, trying to hold his ground, hold his position, protect the ball. But I do think defenders, when you put your hands on shoulders, must be careful in the box.
Duran, left edge of the penalty area, fires a rasping shot high over the top. It was an almost impossibly tight angle. Still Juventus 3, PSV Eindhoven 0. Elsewhere in the earlier kick-off in the Champions League. Milan against Liverpool live on Talksport shortly. And of course Manchester United against Barnsley in the Carabao Cup on Talksport 2. Montero is going to come off, so too Ganvula. As Cedric Itten, a former Rangers striker, Young Boys number 9, is going to take to the field, as is their number 39, Darian Marlich, former Inter player who never made the grade at Serie A level. Young Boys maybe have left it too late with those changes, you would think. There were only 7 minutes plus added time to go, but at 2-0 down, they're still just about in it. Magrincic with a low left-footed shot from miles out. A strange decision that. The ball was easily cleared away by Aston Villa. Hoisted downfield. It'll be collected by the goalkeeper, Van Bournemouth, well outside his goal. Now here is Abdou Conte, new left back, forward up the near side channel towards Alan Virginius. He's lost it, but then Conte's lost possession. It'll be cut back across by Marlich, high into the area. Elia lets it run across his body, and there was a miscommunication between him and Ugrincic, and Aston Villa have won it back in their left back spot.
Yeah, chance there actually, a little bit better possession and better care in the final third, and they might have been able to get a shot away there, the home team. As it is, Rodgers has the ball about 35 yards out.
Up to the right hand side, and Duran getting the boos from the 30,000 odd home supporters. Now Tielemans, midway inside opposition territory, forward ball to Rodgers with his back to goal. Concert angle pass out to the near side of McGinn. McGinn with the defender. Abdou Conte almost trying to clip his heels. He's gone back into the centre circle now. And Diego Carlos. Aston Villa lead 2-0. Yuri Tielemans picks up a pocket of space. In between the lines, he's now 25 yards from goal. Out to the left side, sets up Ramsey on the overlap. And now Rodgers with the first time right-footed shot, and it's gathered by the goalkeeper.
Lucky. Great numbers forward there, Villa. 5 or 6 players. Chance here on the counter.
Opportunity for Itten, the big number 9, bundled over by Diego Carlos. You can hear the appeals of the home supporters, but again, I think it's a fair challenge from the Aston Villa defender.
So big and powerful, Diego Carlos. Quickly gets across the ground. The ball was actually closer to the substitute Itten. He might have made more of it. Diego Carlos just too strong, gets his body in and eventually shepherds it back to Emi Martinez. Just moments before that, Morgan Rogers had a chance, first time ball, lovely football played from Villa. Back to him about 8 or 9 yards out, slightly on the angle, first time shot with the side foot, comfortably saved.
Tielemans racing up the inside left channel, up to the edge of the penalty area now, beyond Sandro Lauper. Can Aston Villa get the third goal that you feel they deserve? Onana from range, hits it right foot in,
wow.
What a strike from Onana, thunderous into the bottom corner. Amadou Onana is having some start to his Aston Villa career, and he's crowned a glorious first night back in the Champions League. It's a rasper from 35 yards, skimmed along the pitch, beat the goalkeeper, all ends up. What a memorable night for Aston Villa in Switzerland. He picked out the bottom corner with aplomb, and it's Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 3. They thoroughly deserve it.
What a strike that is from Onana. And that's the one thing you do get off of a 4G surface, is that if you hit it hard and low, it skips across the ground so quick. And that got faster, usually on the grass. When it bounces, it might give a goalkeeper a chance to get there. That one hits the ground, flies off the surface into the corner of the goal. Von Balmus sprawling to his right as far and as hard as he possibly can. Just can't get it. It's too quick, it's too powerful, it's hit with such precision. And another goal for Onana this season from that deep line midfield position. What a signing he's proving to be.
Barkley, Emi Buendia, not seen a lot of him at all over the last year or so, of course, because of injuries, and Ian Maatsen are going to come on for Aston Villa now. 3-0 is the very least they deserve.
Yeah. Oh yeah, look, it's been an emphatic performance, and it's going to be an emphatic victory. You're right, Joe, it could have been 5, could have even been 6, really, to be honest. It's been really, really good. I think they've managed the evening well. They've kept their emotions in check. They've kept their discipline. Nobody's started stepping out of line and flapping their arms and arguing with referees or opponents. They've just focused on what the game is all about, and that's the opponent tonight. And really gone about it very thoroughly, professionally. Totally deserve this 3-0 scoreline. It doesn't flatter them at all.
And it's Tielemans, Digne and Ramsey going off, and Aston Villa could hardly have orchestrated a better night than if they'd imagined it beforehand. And 3 goals that have probably varied in terms of the execution. There was the well-worked corner routine for the opening goal, and the second, a tap-in for Ramsey after a defensive mix-up, and then that flash of a shot, that whip of a shot from Onana, skidded along the surface and into the bottom corner. And now they've got the luxury of making these 3 late changes. Maatsen for Digne at left back, Buendia on in place of Ramsey. Just a second competitive appearance since coming back from injury for Buendia. Barkley for Tielemans. 2 minutes to go. Game over, and it's felt like game over, I think, Andy Townsend, for some time.
Yeah, delighted for the travelling Villa fans as well. It's been a tough few days for everyone connected with Villa, emotionally, obviously, after the sad passing of Gary Shaw.
The head kick by Lear is gathered by Martinez, but he was offside. I mean, you're absolutely right, Andy. It really has been a week that was supposed to be a week entirely of celebration, but undoubtedly, especially given Gary Shaw's achievements and the significance that he had to Aston Villa in the early late 80s, it really has been tinged with a bit of sadness, hasn't it?
It has, and in this competition, of course, this is something that Gary was such a major part of. So yeah, the week has had its difficulties, no doubt, but certainly the players have been fully focused. They've been sharp, and again, once they got through that opening 15 minutes. And eventually, once they found the target, they've not looked back. They've been professional. They've looked dangerous. There's a menace about their attacking play. And I think I've been really, really impressed with what they've given. Look, against one of the weaker teams in this particular group, no doubt about it. But you've still got to do it right, and they've been excellent.
As we welcome listeners from Talksport, 30 seconds of normal time to go here in Switzerland. Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 3 is the latest score. A memorable night for Aston Villa on their return to top-level European football. It's been 42 seasons, remember, and they've comprehensively outplayed young boys here in Bern. Tielemans and Ramsey with first-half goals. Buendia's played it to the edge of the box, and Girard, who's trying to make it 4. His left-footed shot is blocked. The best goal of the game was Amadou Onana's stunning long-range strike to make it 3. And Andy Townsend, Unai Emery, as we go into 6 minutes of added time, could hardly have asked for any more.
Yeah, it's been excellent. Really, really good. The perfect start to any European campaign. This newly revamped Champions League format, with so many mouth-watering ties to look forward to. This has set Villa up absolutely perfectly for a lot of those. There's tougher tests to come, of course. There's going to be bigger demands put on the squad and the players as the weeks go on, and as we start to get towards that Christmas period, which is always so intense and so difficult. But I think the way that they've gone about it tonight, they shows that the manager again has prepared them brilliantly, and they've been absolutely terrific tonight, Aston Villa. They've just handled everything perfectly.
They've had 2 goals disallowed after VAR checks as well. This is really the perfect reintroduction to top-level European club football for Aston Villa, and they have a mouth-watering home game against Bayern Munich next in early October to continue their run in this competition. We are a minute through 6 added at the very end of the game. Empty seats starting to appear for the home fans. It's Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 3. And John Duran has won a free kick here on the halfway line. Remember, on Talksport at 8, AC Milan against Liverpool is our Champions League commentary, and on Talksport 2 right here you can stay with us if you want Carabao Cup football. Manchester United against Barnsley to come. Choice of listening tomorrow night as well. Man City against Inter, Coventry against Tottenham, Atalanta against Arsenal will be on Talksport on Thursday. Emi Buendia midway inside his own half of the field, making his return from injury tonight as the ball is won back by Barkley for Aston Villa. Charges over the halfway line. It's a great run. He's got options left and right. Ramsey to his left. Barkley's ball, not a great one. Intercepted by the defender Atakami. The loose ball has dropped down to Onana. Buendia steers it wide to John McGinn. Corner of the penalty area. Aston Villa looking for a 4th here as Konsa crosses. It's not a good delivery. It's behind for a goal kick.
Yeah, great attitude shown though by Ezri Konsa there. 3 goals in his back pocket, playing in a right back position, sprinting to the byline to try and get on the end of that John McGinn pass that just got away from him. But again, all eyes focused firmly on the referee now. We know we've got plus 6 minutes added. We're halfway there, but it's been a very, very impressive outing, and I'm sure a lot of the European teams will sit up and take notice of the way and the manner, the quality of the goals that Aston Villa have shown. If they were actually privileged to watch it all like we have been, Joe, they'd have seen Villa could easily have scored 6.
It could be at least 5. 2 goals ruled out after VAR checks as Konsa heads away at the back post for Aston Villa. Lots of empty seats in the home section now. Young Boys, who are Champions League regulars, 3-0 down with 3 minutes of added time to go. Villa fans, you'll want to have your say on the sports bar tonight on Talksport. 03717 223344. At 10 o'clock tonight, Dean Saunders, former Villa striker, will be alongside Alan Brazil on breakfast tomorrow morning from 6 o'clock as well. All the reaction with us. Marlesh with the corner for Young Boys into the 6-yard box. Only half dealt with by Villa. Itten, the Young Boys number 9, had a big swing at that, tried an overhead kick. It'll be clattered away up into the air. Floodlights shimmering up ahead, and 1,600 Aston Villa fans who've made the trip to the stadium tonight about to acclaim what has been a wonderful victory, an emotional victory in what has been obviously a very emotional start to the week for Aston Villa. The very sad passing of Gary Shaw, one of the European Cup heroes of 84 at 63, Andy.
I know, just so sad, so sad. You couldn't possibly honestly have met a nicer guy than Gary. Such a lovely, humble lad, really was, and that is devastating news. Heartfelt sympathies to all of Gary's close friends and family. Thankfully tonight, the Villa lads out there on that pitch have done him proud and done the club proud. They've played really, really well.
Marlesh in the left wing position for Young Boys. Good defending one-on-one by John McGinn, tracking back for Aston Villa. We've got the change kit on tonight, the dark blue shirts and the white shorts. Bayern Munich next in the Champions League at Villa Park. Then they're at home to Bologna, away at Club Brugge, at home to Juventus, a trip to Leipzig, a trip to Monaco. We're getting some super away venues in are the Villa fans across this league stage campaign. 8 league games, remember, for each club at this stage of the Champions League. Villa finished with Celtic at home. The top 8 out of 36 qualify to the round of 16 automatically. The teams placed 9th to 24th are into the knockout phase playoffs, and then the remaining sides 25th to 36th position at the end of the 8 games are eliminated straight away. A long ball downfield by Zukru for Young Boys. The ball has been brought down by Virginius inside the penalty area. You're with Talksport and Talksport 2 as Virginius screws the shot wide. We've got 30 seconds of the added time to go. Milan against Liverpool next on Talksport. Talksport 2 will bring you Manchester United against Barnsley. Patrick Rahman, the Young Boys head coach, standing on the edge of this plastic pitch, looks rather dissatisfied, but I'm sure there'll be a great deal of pride for Unai Emery, for his team tonight, Andy, and of course he's got a great record in European competition. We have to remember that.
He certainly has. Look, it's a manager that knows the competition, knows European football, the demands of it, the needs required, and the focus and attention that it deserves. And he's an intense guy, Unai Emery, in the nicest possible way. I've met him a few times at Villa's training ground already this season. He's really, really thorough about what he does.
Unai Emery and Aston Villa have got off to the perfect start in the Champions League. What a remarkable, memorable night for Aston Villa after 41 years away from the top tier of European football, and they have a first win of this 2024-2025 Champions League campaign. Yuri Tielemans, Jacob Ramsey and Amadou Onana with the goals. It has finished in Switzerland. Young Boys 0, Aston Villa 3. And it is a fitting tribute, as Unai Emery has been billing it, to the late great Gary Shaw, and we know that he's one of the great heroes of the European Cup winning team in '82 in Rotterdam. That greatest night of all for Aston Villa. It has been a week that's begun with real sadness, but at least, Andy Townsend, there's been a footballing game, a moment, a few moments on the field to remember.
Yes, no, there has. Look, again, as you say, very, very sad and unexpected news this week, that it sort of rocked everybody at the club. Of course, so many supporters with fond memories of that amazing night in '82, and Gary was such a young man. However, tonight the game took place, and I'm delighted to say that the Villa players got about it in the right manner. Professionally done. A team they were expected to beat, but most certainly they were about their business tonight, and they looked very impressive. That 3-0 scoreline did not flatter them at all. It could quite comfortably have been 5 or 6. Really good stuff.
OK, let's get Andy's Man of the Match with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Man of the Match on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes, so if you've got a plan, we've got a van.
Quite a few to choose from, Andy.
Quite a lot of Villa players I think you can choose from. I'm going to go for Morgan Rogers. I think involved in everything for Villa once they got up to speed and really got going. Again, so impressed with the way that on the half turn he receives the ball and how quickly he moves away from players. Such a dangerous player. Certainly Amadou Onana would have run him very, very close with a brilliant goal, but I'll just go for Rogers once more.
And that was our Man of the Match with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.